Hello, gamers. Hello. It's been a little bit. How are we doing? Willow Duality, Zane, Lunar, Skitty. Hi, Sino. I am doing quite well. I got back from a run like 20 minutes ago, maybe 30 minutes ago, so I'm a little tired, but had a good day today. I woke up at 4 a.m. to pick up, or to go to campus to get free tickets to an amusement park, for one day this week, because they give it out, like, free every semester. But the line gets crazy and they only let so many people in, so the doors open at 9 a.m., but people, like, camp there overnight. So my friend was like, let's get there at 5 a.m. I was like, okay. I'm waking up at 4. So I had to wake up at 4 a.m. this morning. But I went to bed at like 9 p.m. yesterday, so I got enough sleep. But we waited in line for 5 hours, and we did get the tickets. Or 4 hours. 5 hours. And we did get the tickets, so... worth it, maybe? Who knows? I guess we'll see. Hi, Crenshaw. And then I did a shit ton of animating today. It's tiring. I'm a little tired. I started my YWDMP reread today, too. Oh, I forgot how much I fucking love YWDMP. Oh my god. I was, like, laying there, and I had to go work on more animation stuff, and I was like, oh, I just want to read one more chapter. I haven't reread YWDMP in full since, like, December. So it feels fresh, which is fun. Hell yeah, Zane. Sounds cool. Hi, Zen. But yeah, I'm very excited. Chris, I'm supposed to be adding to the TW list. How did you do this? I'm sorry. Hi, Ellipti. Glad to see you here. So yeah, it has been a few minutes because I was busy on 413. I had a ton of fun. Me and some friends, we got a little drunk. 413 night, and we played video games. We played Sunhaven. I had a lot of fun. It was my third time ever, like, getting genuinely kind of tipsy. And I did it off of fucking Walgreens seltzers. Because that's all I could get a hold of. So I was a little... and I don't know my alcohol. I can't handle alcohol very well. Because I'm a big lightweight, because I never had alcohol until after I turned 21. And I want to get hold of vodka, because vodka, it's, like, faster, right? Because it's just more alcohol faster. But Walgreens doesn't stock vodka. And that's the only thing I can, like, walk to. So I got, like, these, like... it's funny, the packaging was, like, apple... like, all of the flavors were apple flavored. And I was like, oh, it's 413, like, this is very Dave... this is very Dave fitting. So I got, like, apple Bud Light seltzers. like a 12-pack, or a 16-pack or whatever. And I, like, slammed down, like, 4 of those. And I was pretty drunk by the end. And we had a good time. I drank all of they had strawberry apple. And so I drank all the strawberry apple ones. And I was very happy. And it was a very, very, very fun time. Yeah, I'm not a super big fan of energy drinks. If I need caffeine, I'll drink soda, which is, like, the most caffeine that I really ever need, which isn't a lot, so, you know. But I'm not even a huge fan of coffee. So I'm honestly not a huge fan of alcohol either. When I turned 21, me and my dad loves alcohol. Not in, like, an alcoholic way, but just likes having alcohol, having drinks. And so he, after I turned 21, I was there for, like I was there for Christmas time. And he decided we'd go to a liquor store and he would buy, you know, restock on his liquor, and I would sample a bunch of stuff. And so, like, I tried a bunch of different, like, kind of quote-unquote, like, iconic drinks, or just different types of alcohol. Didn't really care for most of it. The thing that I liked the most was, like, I really liked a screwdriver, which is, like, vodka and orange juice. Tasted really great. That one I liked a lot. And that was, like, the most, like, and it didn't really even taste like alcohol because the orange juice, like, covers up the flavor so much. And yeah, so but outside of that, I don't really care for it. I don't even really care for feeling drunk that much, because it's like, you really, like, I don't know. I can kind of enjoy it if I'm, like, with friends and with company, but the way you kind of, like, lose control of your body, I don't know. It can be very jarring to feel like. Some people like it, right? Some people like almost like feeling kind of loose and whatever. But I very much like having control over what I like, my bodily autonomy. And being drunk takes that away from you pretty hard. Yeah, and it kind of depends, like, kind of depends on, like, the context I'm in. I feel like if I was, like, at a bar or out with friends, then, like, I feel like it would be pretty fun, like, just to do it, like, with people. But when I'm, like, at home, or, like, I'm not doing anything social, it's just kind of, like, I feel like it's impeding. Like, it's like, I want to get work done, but, like, I can't do anything. I just want to, like, lay in bed. It's legal to drink in the state I live at 18 or 16 if you're with legal guardians. So I've drank a few alcohols, but just, like, it isn't my thing. Yeah, my I you know, I think almost every kid, maybe not, this is not true, but every kid's had, like, you know, dad is like, you want to try my beer, or, like, want to try the wine, like, we're at dinner or whatever, and you taste it and it's like, bleh, it's gross. But never enough to, like, get you drunk. And so I didn't try getting drunk until I was 21. And it was, take it or leave it. Certain context. It's also, like, you have to commit to it. Like, you can't just, like, if I have one seltzer, I'm not gonna get drunk. I'm just gonna drink alcohol. And, you know, it's like, whatever. That's not enough to get it in my system. So you have to, like, commit and, like, drink a lot to, like, really feel it. And then it's like, okay, so I'm not just gonna like, who casually has alcohol? Just having, like people who are like, yeah, I'm just gonna have one beer. It's like, you're not getting drunk off of that. Do you just like beer? Because then you're crazy. Like, you are fucking insane if you just like the taste of beer. Like, if you're not drinking to get drunk, then it's like, what's the point? I keep trying it every time it's offered, and I can't get past the taste, even if I want to get drunk. No thanks. I'll drink good tasting things and not lose my ability to control my body. Yeah. Hi, Chris just got here. I believe you saw my insanity posting last night. I did see it. I have more analysis to share, but it seems we are currently talking about alcohol fun. Yes, we are. For me, trying alcohol for the first time, it was the opposite experience. My mom had a bunch of little chocolates with alcohol in them, and my family was sitting around at the table with no reason. She was like, do you want one? It's chocolate. My dad was like, don't. Okay, that's kind of funny. Maybe a little bit, maybe a little bit irresponsible. That is a little funny. But, like, Bud Light, what's wrong with you? Yeah. See, the thing that I like, because this is like Bud Light, but it's like seltzer, so it tastes fruity and stuff like that, and so I don't mind it. But, like, just, like, regular Bud Light, like, regular beer? Ugh. I just said the generic, hey, have a little sip, it'll be funny to see your reaction to the taste. Yeah. I think, I had my dad, because my dad was like, well, why don't you try a shot of vodka? And I was like, okay. I think, no, we had, is a Fireball whiskey? Is that a whiskey or is that vodka? Fireball, it is whiskey. Yeah, we had Fireball whiskey, and I had a shot of it, and I was like, oh, because, oh my god, it's gross. And it, like, burns. When they tell you that alcohol burns in your throat, like, they are not kidding. It fucking burns. It is not pleasant. Yeah, the taste is not the charm of most alcohol unless you want to put money into it. Yeah. Yeah. Alcohol's fucking expensive. I've had a bit of alcohol before since I practice religion where it's part of it, and I had like a sweet wine. I've never had more than a small cup of wine though. Yeah. I think even wines I'm not super a fan of. Just because like I don't know, there's a very thin line between bitter and sweet for me, and sometimes wine like sits on that line and will quickly turn to bitter, and I'm just like I can't handle the aftertaste. But I haven't tried also a lot of wines, and I know that wines come in a lot of different varieties, so who knows. Never had it and isn't allowed in my country at all. Oh, interesting. The first time I drink alcohol on its own, I'm going to immediately explode. Yeah, I've not had it much, well, but I feel it. Yeah. Alright, well, sudden alcohol discussion out of the way, I guess. I didn't mean to go into a whole thing. But it's interesting to talk about. I don't know. As like a fucking fresh 21-year-old. Not fresh. I turned 21 back in October of last year, so I've had a little bit, but I haven't drank that much since then, so. But yeah. Okay, well, we have a chapter to read. And today is... Oh! Actually, I was gonna ask if anybody has gone to the Requiem Cafe, but half of you guys don't read Homestuck, and I'm assuming the other half are probably not in California. On the off chance, has anybody here gone to the Requiem Cafe? Because I haven't, because I don't live on the West Coast, I live on the East Coast, and so I'm very sad. But, I'm not in Cali now. Oh, I want to be there so bad. So the Requiem Cafe is a cafe in California, in LA, I think. And it's doing a Homestuck-based event right now that's like officially licensed with like official merch and all that sort of stuff. It's very, very cool. That's the kind of thing I want to go to, but alas, true. No, but I entered a game shop and they start playing Moonsetter. Mom, I want to go to the Requiem Cafe. No, sweetie, we have the Requiem Cafe at home. I have read Homestuck and I live in Cali, but I haven't gone to the cafe since I am in the wrong half of California for that to work well. Dang. I was debating after it was announced, I was like really debating on whether I was going to get a flight there. I'm only one state away, but sadly too busy a student to justify it. Oh, no. Meet up with folks I know, but alas. I know that there are other people meeting up. There was a Homestuck meetup in New York City recently because of or at least I saw discussions of it, and I saw people posting pictures. So like people doing stuff on the other side of the state. I wish that there was something like that in Florida. There might be, but it would be hard to organize. Or I wouldn't even know where to start with organizing that kind of thing. But I saw people like cosplaying at a New York City meetup. So one day I will meet up with Homestuck fans. Probably like the best place for me to do it would be somewhere like MegaCon or Holiday Matsuri. Those are like the two big conventions that are near me. At least in Florida, around where I live. But it would be hard. And also I won't be in Florida for that much longer because I am leaving once I graduate to go live back with my parents. The Striders being the tallest on the height chart. I am angry that Jade is not the tallest beta human. I am so angry that she's not the tallest beta kid. She should be the tallest beta kid. Jade not being the tallest beta kid is a fucking crime. I think that, like, here's my optimal order, right? Jade, John, Jade, Dave, John, Rose. John and Rose are very close. That would be my optimal. Jade is absolutely tall person energy. I don't know why they didn't make Jade the tallest. Yeah, to be fair. Yeah, you're right, Skitty. I think Jade should be the tallest, and I also think that I also think Gamzee should have been the tallest troll. I don't know why they made Equius the tallest troll. I kind of get it, but I think Gamzee still should be the tallest troll. He's just that guy that like towers over everybody, and he's so fucking lanky. I think Equius is like pretty. I think Equius is like pretty tall, but he's a fucking, you know, strong, like, buff guy. I think Gamzee is the one that's, like, lanky and fucking lean and, like, a stick that just is towering over everybody. But Equius is, like, too buff. He's built, not tall, yeah. In the Homestuck read, I've gotten to the troll section. I am so confused. Please bring me back to the kids. I miss them. If you're confused now, you're gonna hold on to that feeling. That's gonna stick with you the whole time. That's not letting up. Also, I did do that. I think there's literally, if you scroll far back enough on my Twitter alt, or on my alt Twitter, because I did a Homestuck read through, like, live thread, or at least I kind of did. I don't know if I did a full live thread, but there's one tweet that I made that was like me getting to Act 4, and I you know the Doom guy, like, meme where he's like holding up, hold on, Doom guy meme, this one. This one, I like edited it, so I edited it so it was like me, and I was like, and this was like all the trolls' faces, and I was like, where is Dave Strider? I was like, where is my boy? Me getting to, yeah, Zeno remembers. Zeno remembers. It was so that I was like, where did he go? I missed him so bad. Oh my goodness. Okay, anyways, let's actually get started with the summary. We've just been catching up. Oh my goodness. Where are my fucking kids? Voice of person whose favorite character will become Karkat. True. Me, but with Solux. I still don't know if I can say that yet. Dave and Solux are constantly in a battle for who my favorite is. I don't know. Karkat's also up there, but I think Karkat is a solid second place. Which is funny, it's not Solux second place. But Dave and Solux are constantly veering in my mind of who I like more. I don't fucking know. I don't know. It's really close. And it's funny, I didn't even think about Solux reading Homestuck. I've told this before on stream. I did not even fucking think about Solux when I was reading the comic originally. I just, not that I wasn't a fan of him, but I just wasn't focused on him because he's in, I mean, in general, in like the scope of the whole fic and all the characters, Solux is more of a minor character. But now, after reading fucking unda fics, I'm like, I don't know. He's up there. Anyways, okay, let's get started on the summary. I did bullet points because, oh, did I just call Homestuck a fic comic? You know what I mean. You know what I mean. He ends up being pretty minor. He very much minds his own business for most of it, yeah. My favorite fanfiction, Homestuck. You know what? True. Homestuck is not canon, in my head. Homestuck does not exist. It is only fanon in there. It is my brain. There was actually a really good, I keep getting off topic. There was a really good video essay I watched that came out on 4/13. I wonder if I can find it. And it was... history. It was called... What Killed Homestuck by Casey Jarms. It's like a, yeah, here it is. This video. I watched it. Pretty good video essay. Not like insane audio quality, like just kind of somebody talking a script and having a little bit of editing. But it discussed really specifically like Vriska's arc. So it's major spoilers for that if you're not that far in the comic. But just a very, very good video. Actually, very, very succinctly, like, kind of tied in what I didn't like about late Act 6. Or at least gave me more of a justification. And, like, kind of took my feelings about it and, like, made me realize part of the main core reason why I didn't like late Act 6 so much. because of how they ruin Vriska's character arc. I could talk about it all day. I really could. But the guy in the video does a really good job explaining it, so I recommend it. Okay. We're gonna topic. We're gonna talk about the summary now. I did very briefly bullet points for the summary for chapters 37, 38, and 39 because I didn't get around to them this weekend. But I still just wanted to have something because I've been getting behind on the summaries. So yeah. See, for like for me, TMA, I would kill if someone spoiled it for me, but Homestuck is so expansive and messy that I'd be perfectly happy to hear about it despite spoilers. Yeah. Homestuck is... I also think that you can talk about Homestuck in completely spoilery language and nothing will latch, right? Because Homestuck's so confusing to explain. Somebody could... Like, I watched a video that explained the entirety of the Homestuck plot in like 5 minutes before reading Homestuck. I was not spoiled about anything because I did not retain any of that information because you can't explain Homestuck in like it's too confusing to make. Yeah, it's too confusing to make sense without context, and even with context it is often too confusing. That's the charm of it. People could literally tell you spoilers and you probably won't be able to understand them enough to register them as spoilers. Yep. But okay, I'm not gonna you guys gotta stop distracting me. Okay, chapter 39. So, main thing is chapter 39, we have Dave. Dave starts the main POV character. He jumps back to the present because he had previously been like doing stuff for Rose. Jumps back to the present, and Dave like refuses to see Dirk after he gets called. Or sorry, not Dirk, Bro. Dirk, Bro, the same person, but Bro. We'll say Bro for clarity's sake. Bro basically comes back personally, is like, fuck you, bitch, you're coming to the roof, and kind of threatens Nepeta's life to make sure that he comes up there. Bro and Dave then strife on the roof, and Dave is tossed off the roof, and as he is being tossed and like falling to his death-ish, Dave suddenly flashes back to when he was 5 years old, and he lives out the memory of him creating Solux like as his familiar, as like Bro had demanded him to. And then when he flashes back forward, Nepeta comes back and helps him out of the lava that he like landed in and kind of like died in ish. And then we return back to Karkat, and so the group Karkat, Solux, Karkat, Rose, Jade, Beck, Roxy, and Terezi all begin their journey to the nearest volcano to dive into to get to hell. And June is staying behind at Roxy's house to kind of wait it out while they go to the volcano, and she will join them later because she doesn't want to paint a target on their back. And then on the way, they like experience like I put in the summary apocalypse shit TM. Because there's like zombies, the fucking world's ending, all sort of bad shit's going down, and like Terezi like dragon form, you know, Inferno's a bunch of zombies, and Karkat's like, damn, this is the fucking end of the world, isn't it? Yeah, and that's it. So we're gonna jump into chapter 40, almost 30 minutes into stream. Oh my goodness. Chris, if you want, I could write like a mini essay on the topic of my insanity post and then share it when we have read the chapter. Sure, you're welcome to. You are welcome to. Okay, we're gonna hop into chapter 40 now. Yes, okay. It's been a bit since I've done this, so bear with me if I have to like kind of get my bearings with the voices and stuff. Oh, we have a cow laugh. It's too early for me to do a cow laugh. Okay, we'll see. I wonder how much I'll commit. Okay. Chapter 40, Body Terror Song / Elemental. Bro seems intent on fighting you. His motives are unknown to you, and he doesn't see fit to elaborate at all on them, whether you ask him or not. Maybe he's angry and just beating the shit out of you to make a point. Maybe he has some plan that means this has to happen. You don't know, and after the 4th time you're dragged to the roof for a fight, you sincerely don't care. You're not wasting brain space on a guy who waits for you to recover enough to be functional after each fight only to do it again. Cal drops from your ceiling, most likely because you've already ignored the summons of one demon who from the lack of screams, you're going to assume didn't go back to Bro. You jump at Cal's appearance, but then go back to looking through your pictures. You have a whole load of them spread out onto your bed, and you'd rather do that than anything with the puppet. No wonder past me sold his memories. I would too if it got rid of you, you tell Cal. Cal cackles. You know, for a thing made up of half a clown, a rotting centaur heart, and some ancient glass or whatever, you're upsettingly creepy, you say, because pretending like he doesn't scare you half as bad as he does, as he actually does, is all you have. Cal continues laughing like the nightmare-made fabric that he is, and lashes out with a noodly arm, wrapping it around your ankle and dragging and teleporting you onto the roof. The motion disorients you something fierce, enough for Cal to get the first hit in. You swing at him with your sword, and of course, you miss. Bro is casually leaning against a wall, and the sheer nonchalance of it pushes you over the edge. You look at the sword in your hand and then drop it on the ground. You know what? Fuck this. Fuck this, and fuck you too. If you're going to kill me, then you can kill me. If you're going to torture me, then I'm sure you're gonna, but I'm done actively participating in this shit. I'm not playing your shitty game, you snap at him. Bro stares at you. You can feel the weight of his gaze, like a ton of steel placed directly on your chest. Your sword flies up from the floor, but you snatch your hand away in time so you don't end up holding it. You cross your arms and stare him down. I'm not doing it, you tell him again. Bro pushes away from the wall and walks over to you. He stops a little less than an arm's length away. Pick it up, he tells you, very much an order and not a suggestion. No, you reply. I can weld it to your hand and drag your limbs around on strings if I have to, Bro hisses, and the thought of that makes your gut churn. Yeah, but that still means I don't pick it up. I'm not doing it, you tell him. The expression of picking a hill to die on comes to mind, both in the sense of metaphorically refusing to give in on something, but also in the far more literal way. In terms of hills to die on, your own autonomy seems like a good one. You're terrified of Bro, but you're not budging on this. He stares back at you, and the anger you can feel from him is almost a tangible force. He draws his fist back, but you don't move. You're not fighting him. He hits you so hard he punches you into next week. Or more accurately, he punches you so hard you sprawl out on the roof blinking stars from your eyes, several years ago. 6 years and some months. Your head hurts a little too much to be more specific than that. You give yourself a few minutes to recover before you haul yourself onto your feet. You could go back to the present, but you don't see any reason to be anywhere near a Bro that's angry at you. But you also probably shouldn't stick around here where you're likely to meet your past self. If this is just before you left for Earth, then it makes sense that you'd look the same age, so people seeing you aren't going to be alarmed. You just have to get out of this tower. It turns out that's a lot easier when you're not forcibly kept inside. You remember your past self's directions to the outer wall of hell, and if you can get advice from anyone, or even a place to lie low, then Matuna would be a good bet. Maybe you could even get there and hop back to the present in the same location. That'd get you well out of Bro's reach, right? As you walk, you try to maintain the air of someone who's totally allowed to be here. In fact, someone who is absolutely here all the time and is fantastically casual about walking through hell. Yes, sir, nothing to question here. Oh god, that woman is drowning in snakes. That seems awful for her, and the snakes. You like snakes, or at least you do when they're not biting a woman who's sinking into them. That's totally normal and mundane. Yep, moving on faster, actually. You pass through the area you saw the succubi and the other demons getting assignments before, and keep your eyes trained on the legal area. That was the next landmark. As you enter the outskirts of the legal area, you're starting to think you might actually like it. Or you might actually make it. Boy, you really wish you hadn't thought that. Hey, what are you doing here? A demon asks. You whip around in alarm and see a tired-looking demon. You think she's a woman, but you wouldn't presume with demons. Actually, she is. You recognize her from one of your mom's tapes. I'm just passing through, you say as you rack your brain for her name. Tizius. You're supposed to be auditing a case. I thought you went with Tagora, Tizius says and narrows her eyes at you. Well, here I am, you say instead. Tisius blinks at you, takes a long pull from whatever she has in her mug, and sighs. Listen, I'd like for both of us to get through the day without getting our skin flayed off, so you'd better come on my case. It's pretty much a win for us, even if heaven is contesting it. Come on, she says, and jerks her head to the side. She starts to walk, and you don't see any choice but to follow her, at least not without arousing suspicions. What if you go with her, come back, and then go see Matuna? That makes sense. Also, if you remember from your mom's interviews with her, Tisius was pretty cool, so you're probably okay here. So what are we doing? Like, pretend I know nothing about anything and explain it to me. You know when you have essays about something and you know what something is and the person reading it does, but for some reason you still have to explain every detail about it? Imagine this is like that, you say, in a way that is definitely smooth and not at all suspicious. No one will suspect a thing. Oh yeah, just what I want, to relive the days of my essay assignments before I pass the bar, she grumbles. Tisius has a sip of her drink and looks at you out the corner of her eye as you both walk along. You can't help but note the thick file under her arm that looks very legally. Fine. We're dealing with a contested soul, someone in our faith dichotomy that led a life that means both sides think they can own him. We say he's enough of an asshole to deserve being down here. They disagree because of his profession, and it's not clear-cut enough for post-mortem to decide without us. Tisius explains. Like a custody battle, you guess, and she nods. It'll be me versus some angel. I think we've got this, but you never know, Tisius says. The two of you reach a door, and you offer to hold her file so she can open it without spilling her drink. She lets you have the file, which is pretty hefty, and with the door open, you step inside into a grayscale world, specifically a spacious marble room. There are two gray tables facing a tall dock where a woman, who looks like a color-swapped version of Spade Slick, sits in a tall back chair. There's a similar seat to her left, but that one is empty. Between you and the snow-white carapaced woman, there's an empty circle on the ground that is definitely drawing your attention. Tisius walks to the table on the left and starts setting out her paperwork, so you join her at her side. Up in the dock area, the woman smiles at you both. Tisius, lovely to see you as always. And Dave, nice to see you taking such a keen interest in our system. The woman smiles. Thank you for having us, post-mortem. Dave's just auditing with me, of course, Tisius explains, and the woman nods. So what is all this? You whisper, and tap on the table with the paper. This here is just background, basic information, where he lived when, who his major relationships were, and the date of them. Key reference, that stuff, Tisius says as she indicates a densely packed sheet of paper, all written in demonic. Too bad you seemingly forgot how to read that. This is our evidence for his specific sins and bad behavior, and over here are consequences that he may not have foreseen but absolutely caused. I've got references for evidentiary support for all of this stuff as well, Tisius tells you as she points to each part. Huh, that's pretty cool. So where is the angel that's dealing with the other side of this? You ask as the mirror image table to yours is empty. That is a good question. Postmortem sighs and checks her watch. You know, I hear there's a rule where if the other side doesn't get here in 10 minutes, it rules for the side that showed up, Tisius says jokingly, and Postmortem grins in shared amusement. Suddenly, another door appears and bursts open, and you jump in alarm when you see that it's Aridin sprinting closer with a haphazard file of papers. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm here and ready. Aridin gasps as he slams his files onto the table, spilling a few pages here and there. Good, it's been long enough, so let's get started. Please raise your hand, and Postmortem starts, but she's interrupted by Aridin. Sorry, Your Honor, if I could just have a moment to go over my files. There was a problem, you see, and I had to cover someone else's case preps, so I had... Aridin starts. You were late, and delayed us, and you want us to wait longer for you to be ready. No, that's not how this works. Raise your hand. Do you all swear to speak only the truth to the best of your knowledge in this room? Postmortem asks. Everyone raises their hands, so you follow along. Tisius and Aridin both swear, so you do as well. Calling to order the case for eternal custody of Samuel Miller, age 54. Postmortem reads and bangs her gavel. There's a flash of light, and the slightly transparent form of a middle-aged man appears. He looks alarmed, especially at Tizius, but she doesn't even blink at his shrieks of demon at her. Even Aridin is using the moment to look through the beginning of his files. Does this always happen? You ask in a whisper. Pretty much. We just wait for the screaming to pass before we get started. Tizius shrugs. It takes a minute before the screaming and attempts to banish Tizius fail, but after that the man has worked out that he's stuck and definitely not going anywhere. Mr. Miller, as I mentioned to you previously, you are dead. Heaven and hell, respectively, have sent representatives to argue over the custody of your soul. You are to answer their questions, although I will warn you that the circle that you are in not only keeps you there, but alerts us to things that you say that you know to be untrue. You cannot lie out of this one. One way or another, your soul is going somewhere. Honesty is what will ensure you end up where your faith has determined you belong. Postmortem explains. Mr. Miller seems alarmed, but he nods, in what you can only parse as mute panic. Good. Tizius, since your counterpart is so ill-prepared, do you want to start? Postmortem asks, and Tizius nods. Mr. Miller, you were a church leader, right? Tizius asks, and the man draws himself up with some importance. Yes, and I will tolerate none of your evil, demon, the man snaps. Tizius, unaffected, just drinks from her mug for a moment. Follow the teachings of the Bible, then? Tizius asks. Of course, Mr. Miller huffs. Which bit of the Bible is it that says it's okay to use church set up in your God's name to fundraise and use that money to launder your own money through it so you don't pay any taxes? Tizius asks. I never agreed to everything those taxes pay for. I won't pay for things that I think are immoral. The man sneers, and the air around him colors. That wasn't your primary motivation, but certainly I can see how over the last 10 years you've avoided paying $134,000 to Social Security programs. Are you morally against feeding the poor too? Tizius asks. 1 Corinthians 9:9 would suggest that I have a right to provide for myself as a preacher, Mr. Miller says tartly. A right to provide to the level of luxury you lived in at the cost of literally depriving the most vulnerable of financial support they needed. Tizius asks flatly. I object, Aridin interjects. Of course, Tizius mutters. Mr. Miller cannot choose the worthy causes that his tax money would go to. He cannot separate out the good from the bad. This is why he and his church gave so much to their local community, to do the good they wanted to. Aridin protests. I'm so glad you brought that up. Mr. Miller, your church, at your suggestion, went out and built homes, Tizius starts. In South America, yes. Not Africa. That place is full of diseases, Mr. Miller interrupts. You look at him in shock at how blatantly racist that is, but you also see the way Aridin winces. Not great for his case, huh? Uh-huh, right. You went to Colombia every year for the last 5 years on what you stated was a mission of building houses for the poor. Is that right? Tizius asks. Yes, he nods. In doing so, you put several local builders out of business, especially as people started to rely on you building houses for free. The loss of these jobs caused one death of a builder who killed himself and forced another into a drug habit, which he's still struggling with. In addition to that, the houses that your church built were made with materials and to standards that would be illegal in your own country, including asbestos and lead paint. One building has already collapsed, injuring one woman, and at the rate they're declining, that's almost certainly going to keep happening. Tizius says, I didn't know any of that, the man insists, and the air around him flares red. We know when you're lying, Postmortem reminds him, her tone icy. Maybe we should move on. How about we talk about the son you threw out of your house for being gay? Tizius says with a bright and predatory smile. No, just give me a moment. Aridin cuts in, hastily flipping through his file. He freezes as he looks down at his notes and then hastily slams the file shut. Could I request a recess, Your Honor? Aridin squeaks. No. Oh, what's in your file? Postmortem asks. My friend put the file together for me, and I hadn't gotten a chance to look at it until here, Aridin begins. Jesus, whose side are you on? Mr. Miller demands. Ooh, gonna add a little blasphemy to the list. Cool, Tizius beams. Shut up! He put the file together for me, and it's not what I would have put, and I just need a moment to extract the pertinent information from here and leave the rest alone, Aridin says. Give me the file, Postmortem orders him. I'd really prefer not to do that, Aridin whispers. Noted, give me the file, Postmortem says and flicks her finger at it. Aridin reluctantly takes his hand off the file, and it flits across the room into Postmortem's hand. He watches she opens the file and starts to read. After a moment, she lowers the file and looks at Aridin. He doesn't usually work on, Aridin starts. Oh no, I can see that. I remember reading or hearing something like this before. Hold on, I need to call someone, Postmortem says, and pulls a cord that appears out of nowhere. A moment passes, and a small shiny white carapace dude in a hat opens a door. Can you get Aradia, please? She needs to see this, Postmortem says. The little man nods and disappears again. Aradia? Okay, I'll just... Aridin groans and sits down in the chair at his table in utter despair. Who's that? Mr. Miller asks. Death herself, you answer him. I'm already dead, right? Mr. Miller says after a moment's thought. Good for you. Do you know what's not going to be good for you the rest of eternity if they win? Aridin snaps at him. Before that argument can go on, the door opens again, and Aradia sweeps in with a curious look at all of you. You need to read this. I think it's probably better if you read it out loud, Postmortem says as she hands the file to Aradia. Oh, what's this, Heaven's file? Aradia asks. Tizius gets her hand in front of your shirt and makes you bow respectively to Aradia, especially as you see Aridin having got up to do the same. Aradia nods at you all and hops up on the other seat in the dock. She flicks through the file and then pauses, a slow grin spreading on her face. Oh, you didn't. You dumbass. Aradia giggles as she reads. I know, but go on, Postmortem urges her. Aradia pulls the stack of stapled pages within the file out and holds them up. She flicks them, and a voice comes into being. A voice you definitely know. Samuel Miller definitely does not deserve to be in heaven, absolutely not as a reward for his behavior. Behavior that ranges from well-intended and often counterproductive at best to outright abhorrent at worst. His actions show loud and clear that he cared more about looking good and being seen to be good than actually improving himself or the world in any way. When it came to caring for the world, he put on the most show and the least actual outcome possible, giving the cheapest food only to food drives, cutting corners when helping with homes he built. He cared more about saying that he donated food and building homes than doing either properly. The way he talked made his wife feel belittled, and though you could argue that it didn't cross far enough to be verbally abusive, it sure as shit is borderline. He completely disregarded her feelings when he threw their son out for being gay, which absolutely isn't what he should have done. Like, fuck, the son of God was in love with and had sex with a guy for years. He's a self-important little jerk that encouraged animosity and hatred in his community against anyone who was a minority. He preached all the right things, but practiced absolutely none of it. What's worse is he blocked the good people in his church who would have been better examples from getting positions where they could do real good. He actually impeded the good his church could have done. Oh, I didn't know about that part. Nice. Tizius nods across from Aridin, who groans in despair. Despite all that, it doesn't mean that he's an evil person. He could have cared about people, and maybe if he'd had people call him on his shit at the right times, he could have been far better. There are people who are sad that he's dead, and if there was some way he could repay the damages that he's done, then he could deserve everything that heaven gives to mortals that make it there. I don't think he deserves scorpions shoved up his fucking urethra or something. Fuck you, love Carcat. Scorpions up urethra, Tizius mumbles as she fakes noting down that suggestion. I don't know what you want me to say, Aridin. I got all the info for you on this damp scrotum of a human being, but I don't feel alright with granting him paradise or unfathomable torture. I mean, I know he's a preacher, and why should hell get them? It's part of your job or whatever, but maybe some nuance would be good here. Otherwise, hell is going to get 90% of the people, or we end up letting in people who aren't that great just to spite hell, or just for the image or whatever. Can you argue for a better solution or something? Anyway, I don't know what order you want the rest of the case in after this summary, so I just tried to put it together. I guess. Carcat. That is something else. Wow, Arati says wide-eyed. Most interesting case I've heard in a while. Anyway, under the evidence that Heaven just provided, I am remanding the soul of Samuel Miller to hell. Court adjourned, postmortem says, and bangs her gavel. Never asking for your help with the case again, Aridin mutters and catches his file as postmortem tosses it to him. Mr. Miller is released from the circle that he's trapped in, and is now looking at Tizius with fear and turning to Aridin in desperation. But wait, you're supposed to be on my side. I serve the church. I can't go to hell, he protests. You say that, but it's not our fault that your heavenly council sucks, Tizius says as Aridin rolls his eyes. You have to help me, Mr. Miller shouts, rushing to Aridin. You'd have been better. If you'd have been better, then we wouldn't have had to go through this. We hate losing priests and pastors to hell. It looks bad for us, Aridin tuts and snaps his file shut. What about me? The dead man wails. You think he's only just realizing exactly what's going to happen. What about you? I have other cases, ones I hope to do better on, Aridin tells him, and without so much as a goodbye, he marches off through the door on his side. Don't work too hard, Tizius says just before the door slams. Mr. Miller looks at Tizius in fear and backs away. I won't go with you. I did loads of good when I was alive. I donated to charities. I fostered kids. I didn't do anything wrong, he argues. Tizius holds her hand out and snaps her finger, and the man disappears. Now he's Intake's problem. Come on, she says, and leads you back the way you came. I can't help but feel bad for the guy. I know he sucked, but, you say quietly. He wasn't great, but what was that angel said about the scorpions? He probably doesn't deserve an eternity of that. The angel who wrote the note had a better idea, if you ask me. Not heard of an angel talk sense before, but I guess there's always odd ones. It'd be a fair system, but if watching these trials teaches you anything, Dave, it's that fair often doesn't really come into it, Tizius says, and you both walk through the door. That's depressing, you say flatly. Yeah, but I guess it won't be a problem for much longer, right? She says with a shrug and looks at you. Oh, right, because you were meant to end the world. Right, you agree a little awkwardly. You're back in the legal area, and in the distance you spot the back of your own head, and Solux's too. Right, you were meant to be here, so that's why you are. Or rather, why they are. Best not to be seen. Gotta go, you say quickly and hurry off. Tizius doesn't try to stop you, but she does watch you leave with some confusion on her face. You quickly make your way out of the legal area and try to find the wall that marks the edges of hell so you can find Matuna. The thing that's bugging you about that is you saw Matuna again after the event, and he didn't act like he knew about future stuff, so either he's a really good actor, or... The air around you crackles with reddish-pink kind of light, one that you've seen before when Bro teleported you, but you're in the past. How can he reach you here? You don't get time to think about it as the light closes in on you, and with a jolt of pain you find yourself back in the present. Ow! You groan. You finally using your time powers in a fight is one thing, but you're not running with them, Bro says from somewhere over to the left. Well, why didn't I use them before? You wonder and sit up. Oh. Cal has Nepeta in a chokehold, and you don't see her being able to get out of it. 'Cause Solux can't do it. It left him alone with you, you say slowly. He mentioned something about that before. You stand up, and Cal drags Nepeta a little closer, still grinning and laughing as he does. And you killed Solux, so... Nepeta, you conclude. Bro stares you down. He's going to use her life as leverage to make you fight him by choice. You don't want Nepeta to die. Of course you don't. But you also have zero faith that you fighting Bro won't also lead to him killing her just to make a point about you disobeying him. Bro tosses a sword at you, or rather onto the floor between you both. Cal stands off to the side with Nepeta, and you glare at him. To think he's anything like the same kind of thing that Solux was is just an insult to him. And that Bro used to use Solux as a weakness for you is so much worse. How would he like it if you did that? You walk to the sword on the floor and pick it up. Bro's stance changes as he readies himself to beat the shit out of you with his sword, or his fists, or whatever he feels like. You take a moment to adjust your grip on the sword in your hand, and you feel that sense of time ticking in your chest. Your past self aged the shit out of that car at a range. You've just got one sword already in your hand. It doesn't take much to imagine the steel tarnishing, corroding, becoming brittle over time with the heat down here. Years and years would weaken it enough for you to snap it over your knee. You're not fighting, bro. Bro's face flashes with anger, and he looks at Cal, who immediately tosses Nepeta at him. You grab time and slow it down. You really hope that Nepeta can teleport away again in time, but you have something else you need to do right now. You grab your stolen sword, the white one, and run for Cal. Bro killed Solux, so you're going to kill Cal. The pure white blade plunges through Cal's puppet body and out the other side. Time jankily catches up, and the way Nepeta's scream cuts off tells you everything you need to know, but hoped wasn't true. You stumble back from Cal, sword still in hand, and stare. His puppet form ripples, the seams unraveling in a wave until he explodes into bits. There's a bloody purple smear across the floor, and something meaty rolls off one way. The puppet body, or what remains of it, topples backwards off the roof, just as Bro finally reacts. "No!" he shouts, throwing himself that way, but it's too late. A cloud of noxious smoke rises up from the lava, and the body that made up Cal is destroyed. You hear something snap as Bro rushes to lean over the edge of the roof, but you pay it no mind and instead turn around to look at Nepeta. Her maimed body on the floor is already starting to dissipate, and you can tell that you can't save her, even if you knew how to do demon first aid. Within a moment, all that's left is a scroll of paper. Poor Nepeta. She deserved better. Turning back to Bro, you see that the same has happened to what was left of the clown demon, which if you have your nightmare puppet shopping list together, that's 2 parts he's missing. No more Cal. Bro turns on the spot, his body rigid and furious, like he's so angry that he can't even untense his muscles enough to move right. He's livid, but finally manages to get one word out. "Sword," Bro hisses. You look down at the white blade in your hand. You're glad Solux gave it to you now. He didn't know it'd be to avenge him, but still. It shines brighter still in your hand, and you're suddenly remembering that Solux did mention something about it being cursed, right? A horrible pain runs through your whole body, and you drop the sword out of instinct. You double over in agony, clutching at your chest, and you become aware that there's a future where this kills you, and one where it doesn't. And then just like that, both timelines are true. A version of you stops occupying the same space as you are and drops to the floor stone dead, right onto the scroll that is all that remains of Nepeta. Your dead self's eyes are glowing bright red as half of Solux's eyes used to. The air around you crackles with something that's not quite the power Bro has, but not quite time either. The red fades to something paler, closer to an orange, maybe, and just as you think it's going to flicker and go off, it switches to a bright green. Your dead self's form shifts in a flicker of bicolored light, becoming something far bigger. Where your dead body once laid, there is now a sphinx standing proud on the rooftop. Its face looks like Nepeta's, but also not totally unlike yours, too. Bro darts towards the sword on the floor, but the sphinx puts their paw on it. With a smile, the Sphinx leans down towards Bro and speaks softly. "Did you want this back?" they say lowly. "Yes," he says, his voice terse. "I'll go give it to you then." They smile, and in a flash of bicolored light, they're gone, and so is the sword. Your body still aches from whatever that sword did to you to start that whole Sphinx thing off, like touching an electric fence or something. It's as if parts of you are numb, or just not quite there anymore. What all that means is that you're woefully unprepared when Bro turns his attention on you once more. His sword slices clean through your neck, and you drop to the ground. He watches stone-faced and impassive as you bleed out, and when it all starts to go dark, you see him turn to leave. It is dark and cold, and you can't move, and it's the most claustrophobic you've ever been. Then out of nowhere, a hand slides into yours and pulls you out. You flail wildly and calm when you realize that you can move. "And there we go, better out than in," Omen's voice says. You blink. It's Aradia. She's crouched down, holding your hand and giving you a patient little smile. What? You croak. You bring your hand to your throat, but you feel fine. Did you come back together like you did after the lava thing? That was fast, wasn't it? Come on, you should stand up. Aradia encourages you and pulls you up to your feet and guides you to step out of Oh. Your body is sprawled on the floor in a puddle of blood, unmoving. You can even see it through yourself because you're ever so slightly see-through. I'm dead, you say numbly. That's a tricky one. Statistically speaking, you're dead. You're about 99.999% dead, so if you round up, that's definitely dead. I prefer to be a lot more accurate with stuff like this. Normally, you'd shrug an injury like this off. You're a god, after all. But that sword is pretty cursed. It kills gods pretty reliably, and you ducked part of that by throwing a dead other timeline Dave at it, but it got you in the end. With your soul slightly mangled from the sword, you're not coming back, she explains. So I'm dead, you repeat. See, this is where familiars are useful for gods. A familiar could revive you from this, Aradia goes on. But Solux is dead, you say. You watch as Aradia tries to suppress a smile without doing a great job at it. Funny thing about dying, you know, people have these lifetimers. They're like hourglasses, but they measure your lifetime. The ones for gods are a little more complicated, but they're basically the same thing. Karkat showed up in my domain, devastated about Solux being dead, and determined to get him back to come save you somehow. He was very sad about it, so I agreed to show him Solux's timer, and his own, just to explain that Solux was very definitely dead and staying that way, Arati says casually. Okay, you say. Well, I left him with them because I wanted to give him time to grieve, obviously. I left him with Solux's soul, too. Funny thing, when I got back, he somehow had more time left. Maybe something to do with the sudden holes in both their timers. I couldn't say. That meant he didn't belong with the dead anymore. Losing the rib killed him and messed up his connection with you, that's for sure. But he's alive, Arati says innocently. Solux is alive? He's alive? You yell. He's alive and you're dead? What the fuck? And seeing as you gave him parts of you that your father couldn't just rip out and those parts are alive now, well, you're not completely dead, are you? You're a god of time, so your timer has always been very hard to read, so I can't move you on I just can't move you on to being actually dead unless you're completely dead. You know, just to be completely sure about things, she smiles. So, you falter and look down at your dead body again. How does this work? Also, why are you so happy about it? I didn't think we were cool, what, with you running Solux over that time, and you averting the apocalypse and bringing back to life the people who died in it, effectively stealing what should have been mine, Aradia says sharply. Yeah, you agree a moment later. I was mad about that. Still kind of am, but I'm starting to think you were only doing what you were always destined to do. It's hard. I'm used to knowing how things will finally turn out. I don't consider that sometimes I might be in the dark. I might be as in the dark as everyone else is. Also, I have a favor of sorts to repay, Arati admits. To me, you say in bewilderment. You can't think of you doing anything for her that she'd owe you for. More to Karkat than you. He freed someone very dear to me, Damara. She was one of my acolytes until Scratch kidnapped her and bound her in a way that meant she couldn't leave and I couldn't take her back. The moon breaking would have freed her anyway, along with Scratch's death, a soul that I was very happy to take. But Karkat tried to help her, and Karkat wanted to help you, so this is like for like, she explains. Okay, but what now, you ask? Well, you need to stay with your body. You're not haunting it as such, but it's somewhat similar, she says. You narrow your eyes at your corpse and back away from it along the rooftop. You don't get all that far before you start feeling weak and hazy, and have to sulk your way back to it, petulant at being this restrained. Alright, that sucks. So I have to wait until Solux gets near me to repair my body so I can get in it again without living in a claustrophobia nightmare world of person meat or something? You ask. Technically, you've got your whole life in a claustrophobia nightmare world of person meat, Arati says cheerily. This is not helpful, and you don't appreciate it. You try to communicate this as best you can through your very unimpressed expression. Yes, that'll more or less do it. If he can get that rib back in him, it'll be almost instant. If not, less so. But either way, you'll revive, she agrees. That's going to be a long wait with a decaying body. Gross. You hope that Solix gets here soon before things get really grotty. Next question then. Why am I dead now when being slam dunked into lava was like NBD? Is it the cursed sword? You ask. Arati squints at you for a moment. I'm going with cursed sword. You did mention it earlier, you say awkwardly. Good call. Technically, it kills gods, but it's kind of magic dependent. You pass the death on to another you, but that fractured you enough to make you vulnerable to a death that wouldn't have normally stuck. It could have done far worse things to you, she says. Worse than death, you repeat. There are worse fates, Arati says and points across the roof. You turn, but there is nothing there. You look back at Aradia, half expecting her to vanish with a sudden diversion, but no. That's the direction that Cal went after you stabbed him, and if there's any chance that he's still alive, you want to know about it. Luckily, it's still within the range of your body, so you walk across the roof to see what she means. Just to the side, there's that stain of clown blood. The other side has that trail that leads to the heart across the roof, and right by the edge of the roof is glass. You heard Bro step on something earlier. This must have been it, and he must not have seen it either because it blends in pretty well. You crouch down and see that it's a damaged pair of black glass shades, a little dinged up on the edges of triangular points, but still whole. They're shattered, but not broken. The shades shudder on the floor, and you back up, remembering just how apparently went down in Japan. It drove people insane, right? But then you're dead. Mostly dead. You don't need to be afraid, right? What are you about to ask, but a flash of red light from the shades shuts you up for good. Red light spills out of the cracks, and then all at once, in a rush of light, there's someone there where there wasn't before. It's a guy, and maybe you should think bro when you see him because his skin and hair are the same, but the way he's hunched over himself on the floor and trembling makes you think otherwise. He looks weak, barely held together, and maybe even younger than bro. The guy who isn't bro, but could be, sets his shaking hands on the floor and gasps. A shudder runs through his body and he scrambles to his feet and stumbles back a few paces. You watch, confused as shit, as the guy stares down at his own hands like they might not be real. He turns them over and then touches his own arms, face and chest. What? How did... he mumbles. His voice isn't exactly bro's. It sounds more like you trying to do an impression of bro. A little higher, maybe. A little more human. The guy looks around and sees the glasses on the floor and immediately stamps on them, grabs them up, snaps them in half, and tosses them into the lava. Who is he? You ask Aradia. That's a good question. You know about Dirk, the angel who went to kill the last devil? She asks. Yeah, this is him, but I thought Bro was him. I mean, Dirk is Bro's name, and Bro's just what he has people call him, right? You say, watching the guy stare over the edge of the roof at the lava below. Yes, but also no. It's complicated like that, Arati says cheerfully. Fantastically unhelpful, thanks, you grumble. Are you the same person as Rose? Arati asks. No, duh, you snort. But you were once. At one point, you were one person, and your mother magically split you in two, leaving you and her, Aradia says. That's not how twins work, you tell her. Oh, I know, Aradia agrees. At some point, this exchange has gone very awry, and you're entirely lost and confused. You and Rose aren't identical twins, obviously, but you know that identical twins were once the same, well, person is stretching it, the same few cells at least. You can take that point of whatever metaphor she's trying to make and go with it because you really want whatever answer is at the end of this. So there was Dirk and then Bro and whoever this is? You try again. Exactly, she nods. So who is he? You ask again. He hasn't really had the space to figure that out all that much. It makes this pretty interesting. I don't usually get to see people at this part, Aradia grins. But Bro's like thousands of years old, ain't he? So isn't this guy the same? And I swear, if you say yes and no again, or I'm going to lose it. You warn her, and she just grins at you. He's been stuck. Specifically, stuck in those glasses, inside a familiar, a prison within a prison, she explains. Oh, yeah, that might be worse than being dead. The guy who came from Dirk but isn't, you really need to call him something, if only in your head. Dirk-sendant? Like, Dirk Descendant? No one is here to tell you not to portmanteau things, but if being mostly dead isn't the time, then when is? Anyways, Dirk Sendent, that's clunky, but you're committed to it now, looks around and sees your body on the floor, or perhaps just decides to pay attention to it for the first time. He lingers where he is at the edge of the roof for a few seconds, just staring at your corpse. Huh. His eyes are red like yours. Dirk Sendent glances at the entrance to the roof and then takes a few silent steps closer, craning his neck to see you better. Dave? He hisses. Hearing him say your name is something, that's for sure. When you say he was trapped in Cal, do you mean that he was telling Cal what to do? As far as I know, I just made Solux out of intangible things in my rib. I don't think I could dismantle him and put him back together like Cal apparently can, you ask. Yes, and Aradius starts. This yes and no shit is getting old. Solux might get a kick out of it, but I'm actually trying to understand things here, you retort. Stop asking such black and white questions, then, Aradius shrugs. Dave, Dirk Sendent hisses again and comes closer. He's leaning over your body now, and after another worried glance back at the entrance to the roof, he reaches down and hauls your body upright by the shirt. Your head lolls back, a good deal more back than it should, what with your throat being. What's the right way to ask that question then, you ask instead of looking at yourself. Whether he was willingly controlling Cal's actions or not, Aradi answers. Dave! Dirk Sendent snaps and shakes your body to no avail. I think he's working out that you are not going to wake up, she explains. Dirk Sendent lets go of your body, and you fall back to the roof with a thud, and a crack that's definitely your head bouncing off of the stone. Hey, you protest. What happened to respecting the dead? Oh, you're not using it, Aradia tuts. I want to, you shout. Really quick, Zen, just be careful of explaining spoilery stuff, or explaining things that... Because there are some things that are being implied that get explained in detail later. Anyways, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, anyways, back to it. Now that he's done callously manhandling your body, the Dirk Sendent is pacing back and forth on the roof, quietly swearing under his breath. Wait, doesn't bro need me alive for the whole end of the world thing? You ask, and Aradia grins at you, impossibly wide. Dirk Sendent looks back at your body uncertainly, and then over the other roof edge. There's no way I'm still... Or maybe, he mutters. He backs off from the edge and rolls his shoulders, and you watch his bright white wings unfurl from his back. He seems surprised to see them, and waits for a tense moment, but nothing happens. He glances in upward chance, and moves his wings a little more, but nothing happens. Huh. Okay, he whispers to himself and returns to your body again. Sorry about this, he apologizes, and picks you up fully. He hesitates at the puddle of your blood, and carefully lifts one foot and compares it to yours. You're about the same. Very deliberately, he walks through your blood a few paces beyond, leaving footprints that look like you just got up and walked off. Once he's a few steps away, he takes to the air, carrying your body off with him. Where does he think he's... Oh, you grimace as you start feeling all wrong again. Bye, Aradia says with a wave, and you stop existing. Or at least, you stop for a second. When you reappear, you're near your body again, and you find you can grab onto your own arm and get pulled along as this deranged angel flies off with your body. You hope this guy knows where he's going, because those white wings aren't exactly subtle down here, not to mention your body is still dripping blood, so he'd better get out of sight, and fast. I take a little drink of water. We're halfway. Also, I will say, I read Homestuck, and this stuff kind of confused me, so Ellipti, you're fine, but it'll get explained. Don't worry. It's not confusing me. Well, Rose, you're kind of a genius. Yeah, yeah. I kind of got it when I read it. But I was confused about the pun that Zen made. Oh, I thought you were confused about story stuff. Never mind then. Okay. Far above the depths of hell, and also above the Earth's surface, on less white but far more impractical wings. Indiana, you start with a scowl, is officially on my shit list. It's not like it hurts. It's raining fire, and it sucks, and I hate it, you snap. In fairness, it doesn't usually do this. It sucks that I can't put out all this fire, and I hate not helping, so fuck Indiana, and fuck the apocalypse, you snarl in frustration. You just want to put all this fire out, all these trees burning, and not to mention all the homes that must be on fire right now. What about all the people in them? And if you want to stop this, we need to get to hell. You can't waste time. Yes, I know, I have to fix the actual problem and not literally just the firefight, you sigh. Terezi turns her head to you. You're flying at her side, by her head, as you try to protect the cars below you with your combined wingspan. Your shield could protect just the Lalonde car, but unfortunately meant the... Excuse me. Your shield could protect just the Lalonde car, but it unfortunately meant that the cars on the other side of the road crashed into it, and it was of no help to the ones behind you, so this is all you have. It could be worse. Whatever you're about to say, don't say it. It's bad enough without you tempting fate, you warn Terezi, who just grins at you in response. In fairness, she's a giant dragon, and a lot of her expressions involve showing a lot of teeth, but this is definitely an amused grin. You drift along above the cars for just a little while longer until you can't contain the question you have anymore. So, you and June? You ask in what you hope is a casual tone. Like you and Solux, but not so wimpy. Hey, fuck you. I like how me and Solux are, thank you very much, you say defensively. Sure, but I want actual bite in my black rom. There's definitely bite, you mutter. You're lucky you've never been actually maimed around Solux. Look at his goddamn teeth. Not that the number of teeth matters. He'd try to bite you even when he was a snake and just had 2 fangs. In fairness, you pecked him as a bird, but that's different because he deserved that, and you definitely never do. Moving on. But June seems so... You start. Watch your words, Angel. I was going to say human. Humans don't really do that. Besides, June is so goofy, you say. You don't mean it as an insult. You know there's more to who June is than her big grin and practical jokes. You know she has a serious side, even a more calculating side at times. You've seen that firsthand, but you wouldn't put her down as being capable of the kind of stuff you read in that book, even if you're allowing for literary exaggeration. Solux made it clear that there's a lot of stuff that demons would expect in Black Rom that he's not comfortable with, which makes it a good middle ground for you. It works perfectly between you two. But normal Kismistitude in June? You don't see it. She's a trickster, a weather god. And weather can be cruel and dangerous. Terezi doesn't sound like she's insulting June. Her tone in your head sounds more like a grudging admiration. And Roxy, you ask? Why, want to date her too? Not involved enough with that family. Her voice is a snicker of laughter in your brain, and you open your mouth to protest, but... Oh. Solux is your Kismesis. Dave, who made him, is your boyfriend. Rose is your Moirel now, or apparently for a really long time, and you both just forgot. In fairness, Roxy likes you for it. Can't have better proof that you like the kids she made than being that involved. You suppose at least that Rose and Dave are gods, and there are far weirder romance stories out there involving gods. This is pretty run-of-the-mill by god standards, actually. You want to protest that it's not like you were trying for that, but Terezi would probably point out that it proves her argument even better. Hey, is the fire slowing down? You ask slowly as you look around. You turn in the air and it looks thicker behind you. Zipping ahead, you find it stopped entirely, although the fire had spread on the ground a good deal, so it's not completely clear ahead. You fly back and tell Terezi what you've seen and decide to dip down to the cars to pass the news on. You can tell that Rose isn't looking through your eyes right now, and you can't make her start doing that. If you want her to know, and she's not looking for herself, then you have to actively go down there and pass on the information. You swoop down and bang on the closed sunroof. Obviously, no one wanted any rain or any fire raining in on their head, or any fire raining in if any had got around you or Terezi. Not to mention an unpleasant smoke in the air. A moment passes and the window winds back. Solux sticks his head out. Sorry, we don't want any, he teases as if you were some annoying salesman. If you don't want any, then why are you asking for it, huh? You retort back just as teasingly, and lightly bop him on the head with your fist, giving him the fight he was so clearly asking for. Oh no, the mortal wound, Soluk snickers. Well, you would have too, you say immediately, and he laughs before you can think that it was too soon for a remark like that. Solux moves out of the way, and you pull your wings back in and fall into the open sunroof, landing upside down in your chair. Graceful, Solux remarks. Are you okay? Rose asks, reaching across to help you get upright again. She must have moved into the back when you were flying along with... Roxy! You yelp, seeing her sat in the back with Rose. You whip around and see it's Kanaya driving the car. Just her and Solux are sitting up front now. How did you change over without stopping the car? You ask in alarm. Magic, Roxy tells you unhelpfully. I told you, the car knows what it's doing. Getting it to stay on the road at the same speed and direction isn't hard. Solux scoffs like this is some everyday thing you're ignorant of. Well, we're moving out of the fire anyway. It's spread a little beyond where it's raining, because that's how fire works, I guess, you tell them. You'd think with all these cornfields we've passed they'd be popcorn, but it's just burning, Jade says sadly. Cartoon logic would be nicer, you agree. Certainly more pleasant than the grim reality outside. Is it much longer? I was trying to avoid the end of... I need... Roxy stammers out, and Rose slides a hand into hers and quietly shushes her, telling her that it's okay and you're nearly out. Roxy gave up so much to stop the end of the world, so it makes sense that seeing it in person would be much worse for her than anyone else. Also, I agree that YWDMP Hal is my favorite, but I just like Hal in general. He's great. I also really like YWDP, and I've been rereading it, and I just love Hal in it. I love Hal Quius. I love Hal Quius so much. Anyways. Where was I? We're really nearly out. It shouldn't be much longer, you tell her. You hesitate for a moment and slide onto the floor on your knees. Roxy needs a distraction, so you're happy to distract her. Beck curiously wiggles across the floor of the car to you, and you dig your fingers into his fur. Did you find out much about hellhounds in all your interviews with demons? You ask her curiously. No, I don't think demons deal with them much, Roxy answers you shakily. Matuna looks after them and raises new ones, Solux adds from up front, getting in on the distraction plan without you even needing to ask. How come there's nothing similar with heavens? There's hellhounds, but no heaven cats? You say, fumbling for the words. Maybe there is, and cats just do nothing. I remember Jasper's, Roxy mumbles. How very dare you? Jaspers was a saint, Rose says in mock offense. Maybe literally, you laugh. Did anyone ever try to contact angels like you did with demons? Jade asks quickly, which is good, because you didn't know where to go from there. Priests, maybe? Roxy mumbles. Be a bad idea, Solux says from the front. Oh, you know. Or you ask, knowing full well that he's right. Demons generally want something from humans, even if it's just to turn you inside out for bothering them. More often than not, they want you to damn yourself, but heaven doesn't play by those rules, so it's not like you have anything to barter with, Solux explains. It's just getting attention from something powerful, dangerous. They're harder to trap, too. Spells that ward them out don't work so well. Those are all about keeping evil, but angels are good. Supposed to be, anyway. Roxy shrugs. Oh, they think they are. Huh. Should there be another word for what I am? You frown and look at Rose. You're the only angel I have, so if you want to be described as anything else, we could do that, Rose shrugs. The fire stopped, Kanai announces, and your shoulders sag in relief. Thank God. Rose? Sure. Hey, you should eat, Rose reminds you, and starts rummaging in a bag for something. It's late into the night now, and you're making pretty good, all things considered. A lot of the craziness outside has kept people off the road, and when it hasn't, all Trezzy has to do is fly low over your car, and mysteriously, all the cars ahead of you find other places to be very quickly. You don't know who thought about packing food and drink supplies, but it's meant that the only thing the cars have had to stop for at all is very quick bathroom breaks. At this rate, you'll be in Washington in no time. All the quicker to get Dave back. Rose bops your knee with a homemade sub sandwich and presses a drink into your hand. You need to eat and to sleep. You've been flying almost the whole time, Rose reminds you. I'm not sure I technically need to eat or sleep, you point out. It helps, Solux adds from the front. You need to, Rose insists. No, I mean that biologically I'm not sure I actually need to, you explain. Rose's expression very clearly telegraphs that she knew damn well what you meant, and she disagrees, and you'd better eat something. I'll eat, you relent, and I'll nap for a bit and then switch with Terezi. They're so pale. You start eating, and when you're done, you make a show of closing your eyes and resting, although your mind is just on the road ahead, on what you should be keeping a lookout for instead of being in here. Oh, excuse me, my goodness. I can't sleep. I'm just going to, you start to say, intending on opening the sunroof again and getting out. Beck, get on Carcat. Make him sleep, Jade orders. Beck leaps to his feet in doggy excitement, and before you can do anything about it, you have at least 100 pounds of determined hellhound pinning you to the whole bench seat of the car. Beck is laid out across your chest and a good deal of your lap because he's so goddamn big. He rests his head on your shoulders and seems to settle down to sleep. Solux, help me, you wheeze. Oh, I would, Solux says in the least convincing way possible as he leans over the front seat to look at you. But I just had a really botched surgery, so I'm not supposed to lift heavy things. You understand. I hate you, you inform him. He blows a kiss at you. You'd flip him off, but Beck is pinning your arms down. Weighted blankets are meant to be restful. Perhaps you ought to try and sleep, Kanaya suggests from up front. Most of them aren't this heavy and don't have claws, you groan and try to shift a little so you're not twisted over from where Beck leaped on you. Beck growls a little at your movement, but settles when you go still again. At least he's warm, and despite his claws, he's not scratching you, and is pretty comfortable. You let your head fall back on the seat and peck Beck's side with the hand that's not trapped under him, and close your eyes to sleep. In the front of the car, Solux and Kanaya are... In the front of the car, Solix and Kanaya are talking quietly about Matuna, who apparently used to talk about Kanaya a lot, and they're catching up on what he said. Their words are quiet and fond, especially when Kanaya speaks about Signless. You're not really focusing on the words, but their tone is nice. It's nice to hear the people you care about having good thoughts. Beck's slow and sleepy breathing syncs up with yours, or maybe you shift to his. You don't know. Either way, it's enough to make you genuinely drowsy, and at a certain point you drop off to sleep. You stir briefly when the sunroof opens again, and Terezi climbs inside, but since she manages to avoid stepping on you, it's no problem to drift back to sleep. Carcat, Rose says, jolting you into awakeness with a voice that slices right through your sleeping mind, and makes you more awake than an espresso, a cold shower, and an electric shock all at once. You scramble upright, making Beck yelp in alarm, and jump off of you to the floor. Little too god-powered there, Solux says from in the front. Shit, sorry, Mr. Egbert just called. There's some slowdown ahead, and they think it looks like they're stopping cars. I don't know if it's redirecting people to avoid something or what, Rose tells you. Do you want me to go out and see? I can be invisible, you tell her. You've not been bothering with your invisibility all that much in the times you've been out lately. For one, you're usually flying with a dragon, so invisible or not, people are going to be alarmed. But it's also the end of the world. The fact that an angel is flying about it should be par for the course. If you could, Rose nods. You slip from view as Solux opens the sunroof for you. You flit out into the night, although by the slight lightening of the sky, you think it might be dawn soon. Quickly, you fly ahead and manage to land on the asphalt where several dudes with guns, high-vis jackets, and a sort of military uniform are blocking the road. You don't recognize the outfit as such, but they look in charge at least. You stand and wait as the car in front of Mr. Egbert's pulls to a stop. What's going on? The driver asks, winding his window down. Just a problem with the road ahead, sir. Is this everyone? The guy in the high-vis vest asks and leans in the window of the car. Yeah, the driver says, clearly a little lost. Alright, you're gonna go down the road away, and when it forks, you're gonna want to take the right one. The right, okay? Mr. High-Vis says. The driver nods and slowly pulls away. You're gonna go check that out. You get into the air and follow the car along. It's picked up speed now, and it's out from the roadblock. True enough, the road forks and the car goes to the right. As far as you can see, the road just connects to the highway. You don't really have time to check out the left, so use it back to your own car. As you get there, Mr. Egbert is just pulling away. You drop into your car through the sunroof and reappear. They seem to just be directing people to go right around some roadblock, you tell them quickly. They just texted that they were told to go right, Rose whispers back as Kanaya pulls to a stop and winds her window down. The same guy as you saw earlier shines a flashlight in the car, and Kanaya grimaces at the sudden brightness, and Solix leans over. Maybe don't point a bright light in our driver's face, thanks, Solix says, because he can't ever shut up at the right moment, apparently. A roadblock ahead. Go ahead, take the left fork. The right says it'll take you to the highway, but it's down. Take the left and stay on it and you'll get there, the high-vis guy says. He pats the top of the car and steps back. Kanaya rolls the window up and pulls off. The moment she does, Rose dials a number on her phone and holds it to her ear. Yeah, it's Rose. Tell him that they just told us to go left. They said the right was blocked. Okay, yes. Alright, I'll let you do that then. Rose hangs up. We're all going left. Wherever we're going together, Rose says. Is going right the better choice? Could we not all divert that way? Jade asks. Either way, he's lying. There's no roadblock ahead. I could smell the deception on him, Terezi pipes up. Speaking of saying things you shouldn't, could you not have said that, Solux? Did you really need to say that to the guy? You say exasperatedly. Hey, I've got the right to say what I want. Amendments and whatever, Solux shrugs. That protects you from the government, not weirdos in camo with guns, you retort. What's he gonna do? Shoot me? Solux snorts. I think that was what Karkat was getting at, yes. You're moral now, after all, aren't you? Kanaya points out reasonably. Not the point, Solux says. It was literally the whole point, and you still missed it, you snap. Oh, we're slowing down, Kanaya announces, her tone serious once more. You peer through the windscreen with Rose moving to your side to join you and doing the same. Ahead of you, Mr. Egbert's car is slowing as it approaches people in the road again. If the road is blocked here, then why would they have sent you this way? It doesn't feel right. None of this does. There are people on the side of the road with guns, and you're starting to notice that their outfits are all similar and that they're camo, but they're by no means a standard uniform. It's more like hunting gear. You're starting to feel a little more like something being hunted. I've got a bad feeling about this, you say quietly. We'll be fine. We're prepared for hell. People are fine, Roxy says casually. Debatable. Magic is cool, but guns are pretty conversation-ending in terms of that showdown. Although it shouldn't be a problem for you, and probably not Kanaya or Terezi either. And you do have that shield you can do. Can you? You've not tried it since Rose became your god. Ahead of you, Mr. Egbert's car stops, and a dude with a gun who is definitely not military or any kind of government service marches over and points a gun through the window. With the sunroof open, you can hear the shouted demand for them to get out. Are we getting out? Kanaya asks casually, as someone marches over to your car to do the same. I think we'd better, Rose says tightly. A similar armed man shouts a demand for you all to get out, and Kanaya very calmly obliges. You slide out the back with Rose, and the others follow behind you. Aw, fellas, look, we got a vampire here. We should stake her. The guy with the gun laughs. You can take that up with the last man who tried, Kanaya says coolly. And a demon, get the holy water on him, another shouts, noticing Solux. Oh no, not holy water you bought off the internet, which will definitely not work. I'm deeply scared, Solux says as flatly as possible. We talked about you shutting the fuck up, did we not? Like, very recently, you hiss at him. Hey, wait, the man with the gun says as he steps sideways a little to look at you better. I know you, he says slowly, lowering his gun slightly. You reply because you don't know him, although you're fucked if he's an angel who recognizes you, but then again, you can't see angels being down here in mismatched cargo, or camo print with guns. You're Cancri Vantis. I used to watch your YouTube channel all the time. I knew you weren't dead. Oh, did these fuckers kidnap you? The armed man exclaims, and eyes the rest of your group suspiciously. Oh no, Solux says softly at your side. What are you guys doing here exactly? You ask carefully, stepping closer to him. The roadblock's back there. We're separating the humans from the non-humans. Obviously, everything that's gone down is because of them. I mean, it's like you said, they never should have been allowed around us, and he goes on eagerly. He's actually excited. What are you going to do with them after that? You ask, trying not to scream. You take another step closer. We're gonna kill them to try to stop all this? Why are... Cancri, what's... The man starts to ask. I am not Cancri. He wasn't even human, and I'm not either, you hiss at him, and fuck subtle. You let your wings slide out in your halo show, and it's not because you're happy, it's because you're pissed. Oh man, you fucked up. You know that be not afraid thing angels do? That's because usually you really should be afraid. Solix laughs from behind you. The man stumbles back in fear and tries to shoot you. The shot hits the glass of your wing and falls to the ground as a crumpled ball of lead. You keep walking closer to him and grab by the shirt. Where are they? You demand. To your left, you can hear others in the group running over. They're not... I'm not going to tell you. You're not... God wouldn't... The man babbles. Your God is fucking dead. You snap at him. Let him go, whatever you are, another man shouts. You guess they don't hear, or they don't think you're an angel. Must be the lack of white bird feathers or something. Rose, text the others. Tell them to stay in their cars and shut their eyes, yeah? You say quietly. Oh shit, Solix says gleefully. On it. Rose tells you. You just catch the moment when the man with the gun pointed at you shifts from you to Rose as she pulls her phone out again. You snatch a shield up around your group just in time, although now it looks like a bubble of stained glass around all of you. For some reason, this only convinces more people to open fire. They said they're all staying put or keeping their eyes shut. Mr. Egbert and his group have hidden behind their car. Rose tells you. You nod. You won't say that it's good, but these people either have or fully intend on killing innocent people, including your people. You step outside of your bubble, of your shield, and draw your sickles out. Seeing that the bullets do nothing, one guy nearest you pulls a hunting knife and lunges at you. You let your form shift, just a little, and just enough for this man to stumble to a stop and drop his knife. He stares at you with a look of total and utter horror on his face as he tries to back up, but can't seem to look away. Where are they? The guy nearest you devolves into screaming and sobbing. It's enough to make you snap your form back to normal. A couple men who were a little further back have just started running away screaming, but some more further still, who must be near Mr. Egbert's car, are still looking ready to fight you. You suppose that maybe you were far enough away that they couldn't see the horror of your true form up close. You start to walk over there. I'm going to be nicer than you probably deserve, because the world is ending and I have places to be. But I am not going to let you keep kidnapping innocent people, so either you tell me where they are, and I decide what to do with you, or I just melt your brains and tear down every building near here looking. You hiss at them as you get closer. No, this has all happened because of them. Our species coming into our world, or other species coming into this world and ruining shit. It's ours, one woman snaps. Oh hey, they have female bigots in their organization too. How equal opportunity of them. Oh, fuck you. For a start, loads of these species were here before the United States were even a thing. Especially as you don't look Native American, I'm pretty fucking sure that you got in someone else's territory. Secondly, we all live on the same planet, so no one's anywhere they don't belong, you ignorant fuck. And if your world can be ruined by someone of a different species just existing, then your world sucked in the first place. You snap at her. We don't have to do what you say. I don't know what you are, but I don't believe in you, one of them sneers. And I still exist anyway. You are going to help me or get your brains melted for the same reason that people got out of their cars when you pointed a gun at them. Because you were more dangerous and had more power. But guess what, shitlord? I'm more dangerous than you, and I have more power. So I'm offering you the chance to do the right thing and think about what you did. Or I turn your gray matter into goddamn jello. Your call. You shout that last part and your voice makes them all wince. The reasonable thing to do is surrender, to tell you where these people are. But the reasonable thing to do was not to be a racist, specious scumbag in the first place. The reasonable thing would have been to not blame every species but humans for everything wrong in the world, to have not become so convinced of their own superiority that anything else was unthinkable. They're not great at reason. Them trying to shoot you in the head at point-blank range is pretty much all the answer you need. You stop looking human. You regather your form a little while after that and walk around the car where Mr. Egbert and the others are sat with their eyes closed, but clearly all paying attention enough to hear you coming. It's okay now, you tell them quietly, and Mr. Egbert opens his eyes along with the others. I'll pass the word along, he says sympathetically, and looks over at the remaining militia on the floor, who are now just quietly sobbing. You don't feel good about this, but you need to find the people they took. We have to find where they're keeping everyone they pulled over, you say to him. Maybe you can sweep the area or something. We can organize something. Look out, Mr. Egbert yelps. He doesn't get time to warn you enough or move you out of the way before something smashes right through your right wing. It doesn't hurt because it's just feathers, but it doesn't feel pleasant, and the spray of multicolored glass is certainly alarming. Rose shouts your name as you turn around to face the direction that the thing you're pretty sure was a gunshot came from. Sure enough, there's a mean-looking man in a formal shirt rolled up to his elbows. He raises a bullet to show you, the crucifix engraved on it's plain enough from your distance. I've got a stack of holy water years before all this. Got everything blessed too, and it looks like it works well enough on you, you fake angel. The man sneers at you. I'm not a fake angel. I'm an angel for a different god, you argue. Which god? The man laughs, clearly dismissive of the idea. Me. Rose snarls, marching over. She has her needles out, and they're crackling with magic just like they did in Mindfang's class. There's certain senses that species evolve based on what habitat they come from, and they crop up again and again in similar situations across other species. A small fish that lives close to the seabed will be acutely aware of something bigger than it swimming above it, because it may be all of the warning it gets before that fish tries to eat it. You see the same thing in small mammals that freeze or hide when a bird of prey circles around in the sky. You come from a flying species, so spatial awareness above you makes sense. With humans, though, one could argue there's not a lot of reason for this reflex. But it still happens. You feel something above you and look up, seeing both Rose and the man with the gun do the same in your peripheral vision. It's getting close to sunrise, but the sky is still pretty dark. Dark enough that you have a hard time making out what you're looking at. Something in the sky squirms. Tentacles shift through thin cloud cover, and you are filled with a sense of inescapable vastness and a shock of cosmic horror. Cthulhu. The vast old god sweeps aside the cloud cover with what you can best describe as a limb of some kind, exposing the just rising sun on the horizon. Rose makes a choke sound, and you stare, frozen in shock, as the sun moves through the sky until it's right overhead. It hangs in the air, far bigger and somehow more real than ever. Then slowly, but undeniably, the sun opens. It opens like a burning eye, and a purple iris that you'd know anywhere focuses down on all of you, and every part of you that's aligned to Rose vibrates in harmonic frequency within it. Rose makes a strangled sound, and you rush around to Mr. Egbert's car to get her. She's still standing, but curled over with her hands over her eyes, but even though she's doing that, you're somehow sure that she can still see. Rose, are you okay? You ask her, reaching out to touch her shoulder. Rose breathes heavily. Her hand falls from her face, and she straightens up slowly. Her eyes are open and shining out a light as bright as the sun. It shines through the skin around her eyes, and when she opens her mouth to speak, you can see that the inside of her mouth is glowing too. I know who you are, Rose says, walking towards the man with the gun who is staring at her in terror. I know everything about you, Rose goes on. That's bullshit. You don't know anything. The man snaps and raises his gun. He's not got his finger on the trigger yet, but you're ready with a shield in case he moves that finger in the slightest. You can have a hole put in your wing and be fine, but you're not letting Rose get shot. I know what you did in 78, what you never told your sister, but I think I can show her. Copy that memory from your head and put it in hers. I know about Aaron and what happened, what really happened, not what you told people. I know about the church house, Rose says as she walks closer still. No, how? The man stammers, stumbling back from Rose. It does him no good, though, because Rose reaches out and with one hand smacks his gun aside, and with the other sets her hand on his forehead. His reaction isn't the same as the people who saw your true form. He doesn't start screaming in existential horror. Instead, he seems terrified, afraid, and ashamed all at once. He falls onto the floor, so he's almost crawling backwards away from Rose, but his words are nothing but garbled denial. That whatever she's shown him couldn't be true. How could she have known? He's not like that. You don't know what he's talking about, but Rose obviously does. I know where they're keeping the other people they stopped, Rose says, turning to you with her eyes still shining like the sun. Let's go then, you tell her. It's not like you're waiting around for anything else, is there? Tell the others to follow me then, Rose says, more a question, if you will, than an order for you to do just that. She must still be wary about accidentally ordering you to do things, which you appreciate. The fact that she doesn't override your free will makes you far more willing to do things for her than you think you ever were for anyone in heaven. You nod and hurry back to your group as Rose walks off. Rose knows where the others are, through what I'm guessing is god magic, you say and glance upwards. The sun has stopped being a giant rose eye in the sky, and is back to the position in the horizon that it should be. But at the same time, it's far bigger and brighter than it's meant to be, and this whole area is lit like it's midday without any reason to be beyond just Rose did it. That's pretty much it. She never got that far before, but eesh. Solix winces as he eyes the man that Rose just did whatever that was to. Since when have you been squeamish? You were all but begging for me to melt the others out with my actual form, you point out. Yeah, because that's just assholes suffering, and they absolutely had it coming. We're all about that. But that specific thing Rose did isn't too far off of an actual thing I've seen in hell. The idea that Rose is using Bro's playbook in any way makes me feel a little... Solix grimaces. She cursed him with knowledge. It happened to be personal. Heart magic is about the soul. It's bound to be overlap. There's bound to be overlap. She's nothing like him, Roxy says firmly. You're not touching that. Instead, you gesture for them to follow you and hurry after Rose. You don't know if the people who've been captured are going to be guarded, and you're not letting Rose just wander in alone. Maybe her being more god-powered right now makes her invulnerable, but you'd really, really prefer if you didn't test that. Rose steps through a doorway of a house down the road, and you jog to catch up. There's a sudden and bright flash of light that makes you think of those flashbang grenades you see in war movies, and when you rush inside, you find a few camo-wearing guards clutching their eyes as Rose picks up their guns. Did you blind them? You say in surprise. It's easily fixable. Rose shrugs and passes you the guns. That wasn't a no. Did you tie them up or something? Blind and hurt isn't the same as harmless, even with you being in possession of their guns, which, as a side note, you don't know what to do with. That problem solves itself when Solix walks through the door, and you just give them to him. Would I look like your butler? Solix demands. Yes, you say, and follow Rose as she goes down into the basement. Nothing good happens in the basement. You're convinced of it. Also, it means you only get to hear Solix's grumbled rant about butlers and serving and something about an island. The basement could, on consideration, be worse. Clearly, someone in the militia could do magic because several people are held in enchanted areas, keeping them in. Others are just tied up with cable ties around their wrists and ankles, but it's the ones that aren't moving that concern you. They sedated those ones. Werewolves, quarter fae. She's just a human witch. 2 sirens. One they couldn't work out what to do with if they were awake, Rose says, answering a question you hadn't even noticed. Who are you two? One guy asks. He's a satyr, and he's one of the people trapped in a circle. I'm Rose. This is Carcat. We're getting you out. The people who did this aren't going to be doing it anymore, you assure him, and the rest of them too. You walk over and take a moment to look at the circle before finding a safe space to break it and help the guy and the others in there out. What are you two? He asks, noting your folded wings and the halo around your head, as well as Rose's glowing eyes. Actually, now that you're in the darker basement, you can see that her skin is glowing somewhat too. Or rather, it's like she's lit like it's noon in summer, even though she's down here. You hesitate. You don't know what you're supposed to say here. He's an angel. Mine, actually. I'm a god. It's something of a new thing for me, Rose admits. Around you, the people stuck here are talking quietly, whispering if, since the gods seem to be back, if there are new ones now. You decide to continue freeing people and let Rose handle that. What are you a god of? A girl with leaves and grass for hair asks. Some kind of dryad, maybe? She's part human, at least, from the rest of her appearance, just not human enough to escape the attention of the assholes who caught her. A knowledge, Rose answers immediately. So you, what, know everything? Someone else asks. No, just things that are relevant, important things, she says, and you think she's realizing it as she's speaking. She sees the future, too, you add helpfully, and use your sickles to cut through a few cable ties. What's my true name, then? The satyr asks. Right, they can be like that, sometimes with the name thing. A lot like some more traditional fae. Rose pauses and steps closer to him. She leans into his ear and whispers into it. She pauses and pulls back a little, the man looking surprised at what she said. But given how you actually feel about that name and yourself, you were thinking of... Rose whispers something else to him. I never even told anyone. I only heard that name in a dream. I was only considering going by... The satyr trails off in shock. It's a nice name. It suits you. Rose smiles at him. Rose, was there anywhere else that people were being kept? Is this everyone? You ask her. They had the basement of the house a few doors down ready, but they hadn't got enough people yet. They would have put us there if we hadn't put a stop to them, Rose agrees. What about the militia people who directed us down here? You ask. Rose frowns and looks upwards a little, glowing a bit brighter for a moment. They won't come looking for us, but they'll keep sending people the wrong way. When they realize what's happened, they'll just start attacking the cars filled with people they don't like. Rose answers in a slightly hazy voice. We have to stop them, you insist. Definitely. Everyone here will be fine. The others can take care of them. Rose nods. Okay, I can fly you there. You offer. Rose frowns for a moment, then looks down at her feet. Then, like it's nothing, just lifts off the floor and floats. I think I'll be fine. Come on, Rose says, and zips up the stairs. Hey, wait! You yelp and rush after her. You yell about people needing first aid and help in the basement to your group as you sprint past them after Rose. She's not going all that fast, but you're a lot slower in a confined space. When you get outside and start to fly too, you catch up to her easily. I feel different, Rose says as you pull level with her. You kind of are, you point out. Yes, but I mean since we were in that house, I feel stronger, more powerful perhaps, Rose says thoughtfully. I think everyone in there believes in you at least a little now, right? Besides, you've worked out what you're a god of more specifically. Maybe now that you're consciously aligned with that, you're being fed by it, you suggest. Maybe. Wait. Rose stops and drops to the road, making you have to flap awkwardly to stop and land as well. What? We need to stop the people at the road up there like you said, you point out. Rose gives you a look, like she's trying to work something out about you. That look was plenty intimidating and made you feel like she could read your mind before she got glowing eyes and knowledge god powers. You're avoiding thinking about or talking about what just happened in there, she says. We were just talking about them having faith in you, you point out. The people who saw your form, Rose says bluntly. Oh. You look away, your gaze going up the road you initially came from. We should go, you say. We should talk. Karkat, any other choice you could have made would have got people on our side hurt or killed, she says firmly. Okay, good. So I did the thing that had the best outcome. Great, you mutter. Rose pauses, seeming like she's considering her words carefully. How do you feel about it? She asks. I know I had to do it. People like that take years to change. No one's deranged and speciesist enough to kidnap people at gunpoint, but then also be easily suggestible that they'll pack up shit and go home if I ask them. They can knock it off. We don't have time for actual change with them. We have to rescue Dave and everyone else on this planet, including them. I couldn't think of anything else to do, and you said anything else would have been worse, you say sharply. It would have been. You're right about that. Rose agrees. Well, good. Then I don't have to blame myself for making the wrong choice, but I still fried the minds of several people. They were screaming. I've seen what that does to people. I waited with someone that Aridin did that to until the ambulance came for him. It's horrible, and I did it, you tell her. You can hear the building hysteria in your voice. What you did was monstrous. What does that make you? It was the right choice in terms of overall good for everyone. It was the right choice in terms of limiting harm. It was the best one available to you. That doesn't mean it wasn't all still a bad thing to do. Is that what you mean? Rose asks. Your shoulders slump and you feel your wings drag on the floor. It's not pleasant given the combination of asphalt and exposed metal bones of your wings. Putting someone through that kind of pain and destroying their mind is wrong. It's a shit thing to do. Apparently that's a hot take because I did what I was supposed to do, and you clearly don't think that. You start. Hey, Rose cuts you off. I'm not saying that. I want to reassure you that you did the best you could, and that you shouldn't feel shitty because you could have done better. It's a shit situation, and you did what you could. We saved lives. I don't think you should have to feel guilty because their actions tied your hands with what you could do in response. This is on them. But even though I don't feel that bad about any of it, I think it's entirely understandable that you do. You're allowed to feel badly because you hurt someone, and you, like normal people, feel bad when you hurt people. You're not to blame, but if you feel bad, that's fine. You stare at her. It's funny because there's so much of your life before the event that you don't remember, but clearly your patterns for what you're allowed to do and feel and how things are supposed to be are still deep in the patterns of your mind. Shouldn't I just let it go or deal with it because it's what had to happen? You ask, deliberately baiting that feeling in your head. Not really. I'd prefer if you weren't feeling bad personally, because I don't think your actions were wrong. I think those guys deserved it, and this wouldn't have happened if they weren't horrible fucking people, and this is on them. I think you made the right call, and I can see it was the best choice. The fact that you feel bad, because despite how much they were horrible people, they were still people, and anyone suffering is bad. Ergo, anyone making anyone suffer is doing a bad thing. It's admirable. If you keep torturing yourself about it, I'd tell you that you should let it go, but it was 10 minutes ago. Having feelings about it is fine, Rose says. I do have feelings about it, you tell her. That's okay, Rose nods. I don't like hurting people, you add. Entirely understandable and generally encouraged in polite society, Rose agrees. But I will if I have to, you go on. That's reasonable, she agrees. You're being suspiciously affirming about this. Are you about to tell me my feelings are valid and I should take a seat on your psychiatric couch and discuss the ways this feels all reminiscent of my tortured past and the way heaven fucking sucked with how they justified the shit they did and made me do? You demand in a rush, the words speeding up as you go. Rose's eyes widen a little and she opens her mouth to answer, but regret makes you get there first. Actually, everything I just said was mortifying, and I really don't want to talk about any of it. Can we not talk about that? You plead with her. I'm only saying yes because of time constraints, and I think if I push you on this now, you might cry in the middle of the road, Rose says. I wouldn't, you deny. You probably would. But I feel the need to state that I have no intention of treating you anything like that, Carcat. I feel the need to state that I have no intention of treating you anything like that. Carcat, you're my friend. You're not obligated to serve me, or compromise your own morals based on what I want, or what you think I want. If I'm asking something of you, and it's not okay, then tell me, Rose assures you, and puts her hand on your shoulder. Ugh, no, not having this conversation, you say and back off. You're not sure if you're recoiling from what she's saying, or just cringing at how blisteringly sincere Rose is, and how it gives you no room to distance yourself from this very important topic. Carcat, really, Rose sighs. Nope, we have people to help, you say in a strangled voice, and quickly walk up the road. Also, your feelings are valid, Rose shouts after you. You start to fly, but she can too, damn her. She doesn't mean it, or, well, she does, but she's not actually trying to push you on the topic now. She's clearly just teasing. All the same, you're very glad when you land a little way out from the checkpoint, and Rose takes the lead in approaching the armed men there. Since Cthulhu uncovered the sun, or whatever he did, Rose seems to have gained the power to do something to people with knowledge. Based on what they say as they crawl away from her, it might be getting a very condensed view of their own lives, choices and secrets rubbed right into their conscious minds. Existential psychological horror coming from seeing how shitty they are. Rose directs you to dismantle the few props to the roadblock that they'd set up and drags the conscious but horrified and wailing assholes off of the road to deal with their pain out of the way of traffic. We need to get back to the car. We'll have to leave our entourage behind, Rose says when she rejoins you. We're leaving them to help the people who were abducted, or to keep watch for backup, you ask. Those things, yes, but they can't come with us where we're going next, Rose says ominously. You frown and think about it. Illinois? You ask. What? No. Well, technically, we get into there first, but no. We're taking a detour, actually. And technically a shortcut. Rose frowns. Through, you prompt her as the two of you start walking back toward the others, down that long, dark road. Through winter, Rose tells you. Ah, shit, you groan. Chapter done! Ooh. Hell yeah. End of chapter. Oh my goodness. What a chapter. This is a fun one. This is a very fun one. Mortals cannot comprehend Illinois. Confirmed. Oh my god. So confirmed. Violet, if you want to work backwards and avoid avoid further spoilers, you might want to dip before we discuss stuff. But it is an interesting way to experience it. Oh my goodness. No, see, this is fun. Okay, hell yeah. Well, you have been warned. Oh my goodness. Something. So yeah, fucking solid chapter. We got Hal stuff. Oh, I love Hal so much. I'm very excited we got... I love the Dave sections. I really love the Dave sections in the end of Alternate Universe. I really, really do. They're so fun. Maybe I'm just a sucker for Dave. Maybe, you know what, that is what it is. That is what it is. I just really love Dave Strider. I just really love Dave Strider. So I read a little thing about the quality of Dave's parents in Undefix. Since this is the AU stream, this rant about Dave's parents is only about AU. Here are some thoughts about Roxy and AU that will make very little sense to people who haven't read Homestuck and some of Unda's other fics. Roxy from AU is solidly a much better mother than any other version of Roxy that gets cast as Dave's mom. My theory for why this is that in AU there is only one version of Roxy. Most of Unda's other fics have Roxy and Roxanne. The Roxanne is who is generally a bad mother. In AU we have a fully adult version of Roxy, not Roxanne, even though Roxanne is technically just old Roxy. I love Homestuck. Yeah, I think that's actually very fair, because, like, this Roxy is Roxy, right? And in MC Escher, in EMC2, in YWDMP, and though DBDC, Roxy is not a mother figure, but in those, we do get a separation between Roxy and Roxanne. And Roxanne is always the shitty person. And I do think that's interesting. Yeah, we also have only one version of Dirk in this, so we only have Bro. That's true. That is true. We do only have one version of Dirk in this as well, so it matches up. Yeah, but even this version of Dirk, it's the shenanigans. It's technically only one. Oh, outside of AU. I get what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, AU, it's just Bro, technically. Bro is Dirk. Right? Unlike with, like, MC Escher, where Bro and Dirk are different people. And you know, I was, like, thinking about this. And this is just talking about general Undefix in general. I was, like, sitting down and I was, like, rereading, because when I reread MC Escher, I was like, you know, I wonder if... because MC Escher, Bro is, like, insanely abusive, right? And we see that, like, we see it very, like pretty graphic, outright abuse that we read fully. In YWDMP, Bro is very abusive, but it's more like psychological, and we don't actually see, like, the stuff from Dave's childhood in YWDMP. And I was trying to think, I feel like MC Escher, Bro, even though he is an absolute shitty, awful person, I think even MC Escher, Bro, would look at YWDMP, Bro, and be like, that is fucked up. Am I correct in that? I think I am. Though, to be fair, MC Escher, the reason why Bro is fucked up in MC Escher is because of Cal and Cal's influence. But I don't know. I think even MC Escher, Bro, would look at YWDMP, Bro, and be like, holy fuck, dude. What the fuck is your problem? But maybe not. Maybe MC Escher, Bro, is just as bad. Maybe not just as bad, but maybe wouldn't give a shit. I think YWDMP parents are, like, the worst. I actually find it really interesting how that MCE AU doc writes Bro compared to the actual MC fic. Yeah, I think so too. You're talking about the language barrier one, right? Where it's, like, early soul marks, where they're on the ship. Because that one, like, Bro is, like... And the thing is that we don't really see what's going on, right? We don't, because it's, again, we're from Karkat's POV and there's a language barrier. But Bro is, like, kind of trying to be redeemed. But I don't know how. Under really, like, I'm gonna sprinkle in a little kidnapping and abusive guardian. Yeah, the thing is, I remember putting this on my bingo board for EMC2, and it's kind of a guarantee. I feel like there's, like, a few guarantees in Undefix. One of them is we always get a kidnapping, and we always get Bro is an awful person. It is, like, the universal. It is the universal over Undefix. thing with Dirk and Bro in canon is that there feels like a proper gap with the Dirk parts of Bro and Bro himself. Now we perceive him. The large English effect is really something. Yeah. It's way more sympathetic to him, and we don't really understand everything that's going on. Yeah. On more consideration, I think that Dr. Lalonde from YWT is a worse parent than AU Dirk. Impressive. Yeah. Oh, that's actually really hard comparison to make. YWDMP Roxanne literally uses her children in experimentation projects. But, like, here's the thing, and this is not a justification for Dr. Lalonde's motives at all, but she thinks that she's doing the right thing, and she's trying to save humanity. Like, she has a motivation that she wants to use her research for the purpose of good. Again, completely fucked up that she uses her own children for experiments and actually does, like, essentially condemn mass amounts of people. But it's, she, in her mind, right, in her fucked up sense of morality, she is doing it for a good purpose, right? Again, not actually what she's doing. AU Dirk, right, or AU Bro, is literally Satan and wants to murder and genocide, and, well, not even genocide, wants to destroy all of humanity, right? So, like, can you put that side by side? Like, Dirk, I think even, you know, I guess as parents, it's a different question. That's true. As parents, it's a different question. Yeah, as parents, I think, yeah. I'm sorry, he's literally Satan. Yeah, it's like, it's so funny. Can we, like, comparing Dr. Lalonde, who, like, did atrocious amounts of you know, experimentation and stuff on you know, her children, and also, like, does bad science and, like, murders people, right? Versus literal, actual, genuine Satan, who is worse. But I think Satan is worse, right? Like, I think that, like, morality wise, Satan is worse, right? Just inherently, that's how it works. But as parents, that's a more interesting question, because it's like, because, like, Bro still let Dave, like, hang out on Earth for a year. Now, he didn't really give a shit, because it's like, it's gonna be the end of the world anyways, but he did, like, still, like, kind of allowed Solux to exist. But again, Solux was kind of a tool for him to manipulate Dave. I don't know. It is an interesting question of, like, who is a worse person. YWDP Roxanne would never. I feel like YWDP Roxanne would, like, yeah, I think she has to be the worst parent. I think YWDP Roxanne is, like, the worst parent. Oh, yeah, she also, like, yeah, I did forget about that one. How she kind of took advantage of YWDP Bro at, like, a very young age when he was very vulnerable. Yeah, she kind of manipulated him. She's fucking yikes. YWDP Roxanne is oh, she's awful. So, like, even in YWDMP, Bro was kind of, like, there were sympathetic things to Bro, right, in YWDMP. He's tragic. I think tragic is a really nice word for it. He's tragic and he sucks. But, man, fuck. Like, I want to say that he deserved what he got coming, right? Bro here is literally Satan, but he got consent. Well, but it wasn't consent, though, because Roxy was doing it because she knew that it would go to somebody else. So it really wasn't consent. It was, like, dubious at best. It was more like coercion. Yeah, it was coercion, I think is the right word. Listen, all I'm saying is we have a bunch of things for YWDP Roxanne, and our thing for Bro is he's Satan. It's, to be fair, what else are you gonna say? I guess I could go into detail about why Satan is so bad. Like, I don't know. It is funny to debate, though. But yeah, Roxy as in Dave and Rose's mom is probably the best parent. Though Roxy, if you're gonna take two ideal parents, you take Roxy from AU, and then you take Mr. Egbert from YWNP, because technically Mr. Egbert isn't like biologically the Striders' parents, but he did adopt them, and he's great. I reread the first few chapters of YWNP, so I remember I just very recently read Dad Bert's speech that he gives at like the marriage or whatever, or at the wedding, and I was like, oh, that's what I was saying last night. That is, yeah, I do remember that. Dadbert is best dad. Dadbert's best dad. Even in like MC Escher, like Signless was a great dad. I like Signless before he becomes Signless Sprite was great, and Silent Sprite, you know, was under influence of the condense and stuff like that. But like Signless was like a great parent. Like Psy and fucking Disciple were great parents. We are bringing up all the parents. I feel like though you can't like compare, like comparing like a good parents. Psy, AU, Mitsuna. 22 seconds later, or 22 seconds earlier, AU Mitsuna. He's also there. He's also there. We can't talk about 22 seconds earlier though, guys. Come on. Not yet. We'll get there. But see, 22 seconds later, AU Matuna makes me think more like Big Brother. He always makes it feels more like Big Brother than Parent. but that's just my take. That's my take on the dynamic. He doesn't feel like it. He's too like, because like the only thing now in my head, right? And obviously in AU, guardian figure. I do understand guardian figure. Because like in AU, Matuna and Karkat are like, Matuna's way older than Karkat, but like maturity wise, it's, you know, Troll to Dancestor, right? It's that same conversion rate, maturity wise, right? That you get in like normal Homestuck comic. So Matuna still feels like an older brother, like Kankri would. Because like I wouldn't consider Kankri to be like Karkat's father, right? Even though he's his maker. No. Kankri's like a fucking awful older brother. Speaking of Kankri, I'm rereading YWDMP. I love Kankri. I love YWDMP Kankri. And so it's like, comparing it to AAU Kankri, I get so sad because I'm like, you could have been so good. You could have been such a good character. You could have been such a good guy. And like AU Kankri, we get a little bit more insight in 22 seconds earlier. But man, that's what I said about Canon Kankri too. Yeah. But yeah, YWDMP Kankri is like my favorite little guy. AU Kankri would talk for a minute and YWDMP Kankri would start choking him out. Yeah. I'm remembering very vividly that one moment where in YWDMP where they're having the board meeting for like after the balancing stuff gets all revealed or whatever, and Kankri like goes off on that one person who is like being kind of discriminatory. My fucking favorite, my best, that is my boy. I'm like cheering on the sidelines like, yes, King, pop off. AU Kankri, YWDMP Kankri punched two cops. YWDMP Kankri said A cab. Yeah, so fucking based. To be fair, I think that the Silver Spoon scene is probably one of my favorites in all of YWDMP. I just adore it. I adore that moment. Like, man, so good. You know what I'm so excited for? I know he's gonna be a little bit of a prick. I cannot wait for EMC2 Kankri. I cannot wait for little baby EMC2 Kankri. I'm so curious what Unda's gonna do with him. I am so curious. Probably not a ton, because it's not the focus. But I just want to know. I want to see little annoying sibling Cancry. I want to see him so bad. I want to see him so bad. I want to see little Matuna. I want to see them. I want to see them. I want to know. I need to know. The thing is, and here's the question. Now, here's the question, right? And Unda kind of brought this up. Not Unda. Somebody in the Unda Discord is what I mean. In the Unda Cord. That's what I'm calling it, the Unda Cord. In Unda Cord, brought it up. Somebody brought up, like, so if they're playing Spurb again, right, they're going to play at 13. But Carcat's generation, or Dave's generation, right, are the older ones this time. So if they're 5 years apart, are they going to go into the game with, like, 8-year-olds? Right? Is Dirk going to be, like, 8 when Dave goes into the game? Or are they going to... Or is Spurb going to delay until... Is it Dirk's generation? But they all also go into the game. How does one join the Unda Discord? I can give you a link. Hold on. Let me grab a linky. Let me make sure that is the correct link. That should be the Unda Discord link. Warning for spoilers in there, so be careful. But in the Unda Discord, so right? Like, can we see how that's might go bad? So, you know, I don't know. Now, the idea then would be, okay, maybe it's like Dirk's generation that like triggers, right, the Spurb happening. Like, it's just instead the younger generation that Spurb that triggers it. So they'll wait until they're 13 and then they'll go in. So like Carcat and all of them will be like 18 or however old they're supposed to be. But I was like, man, there's no way that they go into the game with like 8-year-olds. Like, that would be awful. That would be so difficult. And also, to be fair, I just really want like older, like adult beta kids and beta trolls dealing with, you know, the younger ones. So I'm kind of hoping that they don't go into the game too early. To be fair, I also just... And Unda probably is going to write it better. Or not better. MC Escher Spurb was finely written. I personally liked MC Escher before Spurb, like pre-Spurb MC Escher. And Unda's written a ton more since then, so Unda just has more experience as a writer. But I enjoy the pre-Spurb stuff so much more. And so I'm very, very much cherishing... I'm going to cherish early EMC2. Because I don't know how much I'm going to like it once they actually go into the game. But I'm going to keep an open mind. Because, you know, that's how I'm going to be. Because it wasn't bad. It's not bad at all. I just preferred the earlier stuff. There's nothing scarier than an 8-year-old. But yeah, we need actual 18-year-old beta kids. True. I need adult Dave. I need adult Dave so bad. I need it so bad. Anyway, guys, I love YWDMP with Dave and like the whole group being older. I liked like the things they did with the game because I think Spurb as a concept is interesting, but I agree I like the first half more. Yeah, I think that like the way that they used the way that it ended, of like how they like brought Dave back to life, of like kind of glitching the game or like reprogramming the game. Please don't do Dave's super internalized homophobia again. No, but I really like Dave's super internalized homophobia. But I love it though. Listen, I'm sorry, I'm a sucker. I could read Dave getting over his super internalized homophobia 5,000 times and I will like it every single time as long as it is well written. I'm sorry. I hope that it'll probably be done a little bit differently, but I really don't mind. And I think it will be, because we have 2 soulmates to deal with this time. Right? we have two soulmates to deal with this time, so it's like maybe a little bit different. Unda uses they them pronouns, or at least I'm pretty sure. I always just use they them. Yeah. Unda uses they them. But I love Dave internalized homophobia arc. I'm sorry, like I don't know why it's so like it's so important to me. And so I think as long as it's done well again, I don't care. I could see the exact same thing done a bajillion times, but I know people have different preferences. I keep reading it as E equals MC squared, and if there's not a joke about it at some point, I'll be disappointed. Well, that's the joke, right? It was I'm pretty sure that like that's the point, right? That's what the reference is supposed to be, but it's just not written out like that in the title. Can you put subscript in your in alternate or in AO3 titles? I guess it would be harder to look up. But yeah, E equals MC squared is supposed to be the reference of like that's the sequel to MC Escher, which I think it's like a mathematical thing. I don't know fucking math. I don't know what how it follows up. Brain is unda, so we're probably going to end up with a pale soul Dave, flush Dave cat, but please pale EMC2 Dave cat, please. I would love a pale Dave cat. I want, and I've already said this, I said this in the undercord, I want pale Dave cat, pitch Dave soul. That's all I need. That is all I need in life to be happy. I need pitch Dave soul, pale Dave cat. If I have that, I can die happy. That is like my ideal for their relationship. And then a little bit of quadrant smearing. And then they're all three of them are together in some way, and there's a little bit of quadrant smearing everywhere. Why is pale a blocked term? That's so weird. I gotta fix that. Hey, you made me so attached to Pitch Soul Cat, unfortunately. Listen, I love Pitch Soul Cat. I really do. In fact, I would just love everybody's pitch with everybody, because I just love pitch relationships. But I love Pitch Dave Soul. I love Pitch Dave Soul. Flush Dave Cat is the most boring of Dave Cat. I do agree. I not that it's bad. Not that it is bad at all. Right? But if you're looking at all the dynamics and comparing them, Flush Dave Cat is just... It's okay. It's the same thing as like John Dave to me. I don't like John Dave. I think Pepsi Cola is boring as hell, and people can have their own opinions, right? And yeah, when I say boring, I don't mean bad. It's just like, it is just you're just doing a gay relationship. You're just doing a standard boy love boy, you know, fun little cute thing with two humans. It's like, give me more. You're in Homestuck. Like, give me the quadrants. That's like the fun stuff. And so that's why I like, you know, stuff where you're shipping humans with trolls, because then you get like that, you know, it's like cultural differences that you can play around with, and different biology, and like humans having to adapt to quadrants, and then, you know, trolls having to adapt to how humans are with quadrants, etc., etc. Dirk Jake is right there, and it's 100% more interesting. It's funny, I don't like John Dave. I do like Dirk Jake. I think Dirk Jake is much more interesting, but also, to be fair, the only reason that I like Dirk Jake is because I think Call Me Arcturus does it really well, and I love all of Call Me Arcturus's fics. I need to experience more Homestuck content, as I've only experienced AU, Pitch Soul Cat, and Flush Dave Cat, but ooh, pale Dave Cat sounds interesting, yeah. I think that Dave Cat would swap spit, but I always saw it as pale with flush undertones. Homestuck fandom is on another level with quadrants, man. Like, you guys are doing physics equations, and I barely get how a functional pitch relationship looks. If you want a solid, like, good baseline example of a functional pitch relationship, either AU Soul Cat is really good, like what we're reading right now, or DBDC, Dave's Broken Diamond Club, Solvris. That is my favorite Dave Soul Cat related pitch relationship out of, like, oh my god, it's so good. I love the pitch Solvris in DBDC. It's also like just like a very solid, and like pitch Solvris is like the most pitch E that like Unda gets, because like even Roxy and Solux pitch wasn't like extreme, because Solux was there was like a little bit of an age gap, and Solux was younger, and they weren't committed in like a full relationship yet. But like Solverus, it's 2 trolls in a troll culture, and so it's like actual pitch, or at least as close to pitch as like Unda's willing to write. Because even this is like kind of diluted pitch. You know, I deadass thought Dave Cat was is canon and pale. Yeah, they act pale. I've got homework damn for Unda. Yeah, the thing is that Unda's lengths are fucking insane too. 22 seconds later, because we've got MC Escher. Oh my god. Oh wait, this combines. Does this combine EMC2? Oh, this is gonna be so long if this combines EMC2. Does it? Oh my god, it does. Oh, this is gonna be so long that this combines EMC2. That word count is gonna be insane. This word count's gonna be over 2 million. My god. Then alternate universe. And this is, yeah, this is YWDMP. Oh, this includes set list. It's funny, this includes set list, but set list also has like a ton more words because it's hidden in another website. That's not crazy accurate. And then that isn't including DBDC, which doesn't have any side fix. Where is DBDC? I still need to read MC. I read EMC's first chapter, and I'm planning on reading it as updates. Hell yeah. And then this is DBDC. So, yeah, there's homework. There is homework. DBDC is also, like, the most intense undefic, I think, as far as source material, or as far as topics it covers. I think everybody's in agreement on that. I think MC Escher is really brutal initially when it comes to like the explicit abuse that Dave goes through as a kid, like that Dave and Dirk go through. But I think overall, DBDC was very heavy, and like more heavy than Unda's other fics. I've reread DBDC once, and I probably will again, but not until like maybe like 6 months. AU is 100% the lightest fic. Yes, that's actually, yeah, totally, 100%. AU is by far the lightest undefic. MC Escher gets pretty dark when it comes to its depictions of abuse, and also just like the amount of like grief characters go through. YWDMP is rough at points. With like the character relationship, not drama, but like the trauma characters have like a lot of like, you know, therapy, so much therapy. But DBDC is fucking hard. And this is like, I'll be very vague, but there is literally a very explicit like POV of a character getting drugged, essentially drugged and tortured, and it is hard to read through. It was like the only and I'm not very squeamish on things of like just like in general, like I don't get, you know, triggered by a lot of stuff in fiction, but it was like the only chapter of Unda I have ever read where I had to take a break after. I like read it and I was like, I genuinely feel sick. I was like, this is difficult to read. Yeah, you know the one I'm talking about, Zen. Most people who have read DBDC know the one I'm referring to. It is rough. Thankfully, it's not crazy long. It is one chapter, but the repercussions of that are very, you know, hit the character hard. And working through the trauma is something that takes so long to like, you know, work through, because it is like deeply traumatic and very, you know, PTSD inducing for the character, and it's like a very big part of that character's arc where they have to, you know, grapple with what happened to them. I might not be able to read DBDC. That's very heavy. Yeah, it is rough. DBDC has the most heavy topics. I still recommend it because I think it is very good writing. Like, I think that DBDC is very well written, but like Dave is at his worst in DBDC. Dave is a very, and it's funny, Dave's working Diamond Club. Dave is a very broken character in DBDC. More so, I think, even than YWDMP. Dave is more, I don't know if that's true. YWDMP Dave is really broken, but Dave doesn't handle things well. Yeah, I think Dave is. I think Dave is more broken because he doesn't deal with shit better, and is also like sometimes more of an asshole. YWDMP Dave at least like goes to therapy and like gets help after a certain point, but there's something that Dave with a Y does in the fic where it's like, dude, like, come on, like, it's like, it is rough. Now DBDC has a happy ending, right? It has a happy ending where everybody is not, it's not like, oh, you know, we clap and everybody's trauma is fixed, but it is rough. I still absolutely adore it. I love this fic. But it is definitely one of it is Unda's darkest fic. It is Unda's darkest fic in terms of tone. I still think it's incredible though. And I love reading like about messy relationships, and I love reading about messy shit. And broken characters, and even if those characters don't get fully fixed, because obviously, you know, trauma takes years and years and years, and sometimes you can't show all of that through fiction or through a limited, you know, narrative, especially when there's like time skips and stuff involved. But I think Dave's Broken Diamond Club's biggest issues more have to do with like pacing, and certain arcs feeling too long, or you know, mostly too long. I think DBDC could be cut like with like 1/3 cut of it out when it comes to word count. Maybe not 1/3, maybe 1/3's a lot. Maybe like 1/4 of the word count cut out, and like condensed. And I think that it would be better. I hate Hurt No Comfort. I think that there is comfort in DBDC though. And I think that the comfort that is there is good. But it is definitely a lot of suffering. And to be fair, I love watching characters suffer. I love angst. So maybe I'm fucked up for that, but I think that a lot of people go to fanfiction for that kind of thing. I enjoy characters when they're at their lowest, and like I like seeing them at their lowest, and sometimes if they don't recover to like the fullest extent, like fucking cool. Like, I don't know, I think it's interesting. I think it's fascinating. And I totally get if some people don't like that. I totally understand that some people need a happy ending. And for a lot of times I do need happy endings. But like, if you are giving me, if a fic is like 70%, 75% angst and like 25% fluff, I will take that and I will eat it. I do need some comfort. I need a little bit of comfort, I think, at some point, but I'm not saying the pieces have to be neatly together just that there's hope. I get that. Angst is the reason for which I read fanfiction. I am loving DBDC. Yeah. No, that's a good ratio. I think so. I just can't read torture porn. That is fair. I would say that one chapter, even then, no. I wouldn't call that one chapter in DBDC torture porn. Because I don't think that it's... I think the thing about torture porn is that it is, like... It is glorifying the suffering. And I don't really like that. I think that that one chapter in DBDC is like depicted really well, and the consequences of it are like fully fleshed through. And so that's why I really, really like it, even though it's hard to read. I feel like as a life series enjoyer, I can't say that I don't like angst. That's like the whole point. Yeah. I feel like life series is interesting because if you interpret it the way, because unlike, you know, stuff like a fleshed out fan fiction, yes. Oh, Violet, you're so correct. Oh my God, you're bringing me back to my Dream SMP days. I was so angry. I would go on rants about Ghostbur to my friends about how poorly it was handled. Oh my God, that is like the definition of like hurt with no comfort that I absolutely despise. You are so based and so correct. Oh my God. Ghostbur was handled so poorly, and I hated it, and I hated what Wilbur did in those stupid Reddit posts. He deserves a happy ending. Fuck you. And he's living happy in my fucking brain. Everything with Survivor was great, but the cost, yeah. Wilbur on his stupid-ass little Reddit account. Shut up, bro. Yeah. Yeah. Who asked? Fucking true and real. Fucking so real. Fucking so real. I had another character I was gonna bring up, but I totally got derailed because I thought about Ghostbur, and now my brain's there again. Oh, so with life series, right? With life series, because it's not like an actual narrative, right? It's all pretty much, I mean, you could argue, right? But because the narrative is so interpretive, you can kind of do what you want with it. And so in theory, the ending of Third Life could be as angsty as you want. And if you want it to be fucking angsty, where it's like, this is a game that Grian knew he was a part of, and he fucking, like, you know, kills himself at the end because it's like, you know, all, and he has to kill Scar, and it's like all because like he couldn't do anything about it and he was fated to do it, and it's like this whole build up to like a tragic, you know, tragedy, awful ending. And awful as in like, you know, horrible for the characters. You can do that. Or you can interpret it as like Grian doing it as a final fuck you to the Watchers and like finally winning, right? Where it's like an uplift, like there's like a hope at the end, right? And you know, it was his final like rebellion, you know, against the game, whatever. And like how like you could take that into Last Life of like Scott again succumbing or allowing himself to succumb to the boogeyman curse and him winning as like a final triumph. But then you could also interpret it as, well, like, you know, even then there's still violence in the end and Scott still dies because, you know, and he's struck down by the Watchers, right? Or however, again, you interpret that story. Now, fandom can take that and they can run wild with it whatever way they want, and that's really cool because you end up seeing now in life series you get a lot of angst because that's what people really like in fandoms. They love the angst, and so you get a lot of that. You get a lot of the angstiness, you get a lot of the angsty endings, you know, people do that. But because of the interpretive nature, you can also interpret it as, you know, happy and good. And it's kind of nobody's really right or wrong. It's just a take, you know. With unlike stories, like even like Homestuck or, you know, Undisfixed or whatever, there's like a clear narrative where it's like, this is obviously an intended thing. There's one Tumblr post that's like, there was love there. It didn't stop the tragedy, but it was there. Oh, that's life series to me. Oh, my little heart. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Speaking of limited life, I have not kept up at all. I just saw that like Jimmy died first again, and I was like, what the fuck? How does he keep doing it? How does it keep happening? How does he do it? I don't know. It's fucking wild. Poor little canary. I think he's destined to. Poor little canary man. How tragic. He fell off a sky bridge. That is very canary of him. That is very canary of him. Wow. I am a Jimmy main and I am suffering. That is awesome. Oh my goodness. Okay, I think I need to end. I gotta go get work done. I gotta get work done. But it was very lovely chatting. We did a lot of chatting this stream. We will be back as usual tomorrow for chapter, 41? Because today was 40. We will be back for 41 tomorrow. If I can go back far enough. There it is. Boop. What's 41? Let me see. We're count. Oh, a little bit shorter than today. We are getting close to the end. The last chapter will probably be 1, 2, 3. Depends on if we do something Wednesday, but it'll definitely be next week for sure. All right. Good night, all. See you guys tomorrow, 9 p.m. EST. Bye bye. Good night. Wah-wah.